Okay, there we go. I think we're working. I hope we're working. Let me check a few things here, make sure I'm seeing. Yep, looks like it is. Okay, good. Hi, guys. Welcome to the first ever Moosestaffa Flying Moose Q&A stream. So we're not going to fly tonight. We're not going to play a game. Well, unless this goes really short, in which case then maybe we'll do something. But we'll see what happens. No one asked for your intro music. I have my own. Thank you very much, and we'll get into that later. But welcome. First of all, let me say hello to Kelsey in chat, and then in TeamSpeak we've got Crypto, Captain Tim, and Kramer so far. I know um, David will be joining us a little later. He can't be here till about 6:45, so we're going to hold his questions until then, per his request. Fourth Doctor's here. Good to see you. Um, and the panda, Miss Fourth Doctor's wife. Okay, awesome. Fourth Doctor and friend. Nice, I like it. Um, so you'll notice I've got the well, you may not be able to tell. I've got the camera actually running it differently. It's actually on the other screen. This is normally where I would be flying right here, and I've got the ability. I moved it around, so at a certain point tonight, I'll take that and I'll give you guys kind of a tour of the sim pit, if you will. And we'll kind of go through that. But don't forget, if you haven't already, if you're not on Discord, I encourage you to get to Discord. In fact, I can help you with that if you don't already know where that is. Nightbot will fill you in there. You can join Discord, and there's a question and answers section. You can post your questions in there. I will also answer questions directly off the chat, but it's very possible that they get buried. So if you really want your question answered, I encourage you to use the chat. And I probably should have turned that Nightbot little thing off because that is out of date now because it's already happening right now. I do not have Biscoffs. I will be getting them tomorrow for the across the pond, but I have eaten all the ones that I have so far. So no, at the moment I do not have Biscoffs. But so let's get into it. And no flight detected in process. Yeah, yeah. There's no route today. No flight in progress. The Q&A is in progress.
I have a flight in progress right now. I'm actually hopping down on a 777 to Amsterdam.
Well, okay then. Drat.
Well, I just got my 777 back today.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I'm going to be, like I said, referencing the questions that have been posted in the chat to start, and then once we exhaust those, then I will go into some stuff about my stream and stuff. So feel free to post more questions as they come to your mind, and I will answer. They don't have to be flight sim related. They could be streaming related. They can be personal. I will, answer them at my discretion if they're personal. I'm generally pretty open about myself. So, but obviously, if they're crude or odd in nature, I'll probably gloss over them. So, just use your brain, but and try to be polite. But I'll try to be as much of an open book as I can. So anyway, so the very first question actually comes from our friend Encrypted, posted there, and that was, when will Moose fly GA? So I'll take this opportunity to let you in on something that I've been contemplating for a little bit. I wasn't, yeah, Kramer, exactly. That's the kind of thing I will not be answering. Um, I've been contemplating this for a little bit, and I'm getting ready to pull the trigger and do it probably this summer, or at least start the process this summer. I'm saving up some funds for it. Um, I am looking at going back and finally finishing my private pilot and actually get that in the real world. So, so as that starts to happen, I will probably start doing some GA stuff in the sim as good practice for myself. Obviously, when I'm doing my private pilot and flying with there. I won't be doing it with an airliner. It will be with a small single-engine piston aircraft. So I've also been delving more into X-plane lately. I've been really flying around with the 727, enjoying it, and that's been forcing me to kind of set that sim up so it's ready for me to just delve in whenever I want. And I feel that will be a probably better area, a better sim to play around with GA aircraft versus prepared. So anyway, so to answer your question, in the near future, will probably be happening. I don't know to how often and to what extent, but it will definitely be happening at some point. Um, so anyway, mom's maiden name. You can ask questions about me, although I do know the answer to that. So yeah, so when will Moose fly GA? Probably as we get closer to summer, and how often we'll do that. But it'll probably be X-plane oriented. I say that I'm not planning to move away from P3D at all. I plan to supplement and get, both sims have stuff to offer and do things differently, and are both good platforms, but they both have their own weaknesses in different areas too. And so use them for their strengths, and use them not as much in their weakness areas, hopefully. So yeah. So crypto again. If you want to take my advice, if you're seriously posting a question, I know have access to Discord, so I would recommend you post in Discord, because I'm going to go off the Discord questions first, and your question's going to get truncated up and up and up and up, and I'm able to forget it. So
Nah, I'm being silly.
all right, fine. So anyway, let's move on. David Rothmuller posted in here, but he's not back yet, so he just basically saying hi. I'm sure he's probably on his phone, so we're going to skip over his questions for now. Captain Tim, I'm actually going to skip over yours for the moment, because I'm going to use that as filler once the kind of mainstay questions are done, because that was kind of just some push out. So let me go down to Gemini's question. What is your favorite airline and airplane of all time? So this has been a moving target. Well, some of it's been the airline has been a moving target, and I'll explain. So growing up as a kid with very limited experience into aviation, my favorite airline back then was United, and for no other reason than I like delivery. I mean, it's I was a kid. What do you want from me? So I like delivery. And I like the aircraft they flew. And so I flew United. Hang on a second, my phone just dinged. I need to make sure this isn't something important. Oh no, it's probably Discord. So yeah, okay, time to be quiet, because that's gonna happen a lot now. All right, there we go. Um, so it started out as United. My favorite airplane of all time has always been, and always has been, and remains the 747, the Queen of the Skies.
Dash 400.
That is my, specifically the Dash 400 is my current favorite. Um, but yeah, it's got the lines of the aircraft, the size of the aircraft, the iconicness of the aircraft. It's all things. It's a beautiful bird, in my opinion. So the 747, hands down. Now, if you were going to ask me today what is my favorite airline, I would probably tell you Delta, and there's a number of reasons for that. The first and foremost is they're the ones I've had the most recent experience with. I flew Delta for Flight Sim Con, not Flight Sim Expo, Flight Sim Con 2 years ago, and I flew Delta a few years before that. And both times I've had an amazing experience. I've been very impressed. I've flown United fairly recently, and I've flown American very recently. And the way that Delta has kept up their interiors and has done their customer service and things like that have been leaps and bounds ahead of the other two, in my experience. Now, that doesn't say this is not to say that their customer service is bad, but in the experience that I had much better experiences with Delta, and that was even amidst troubles. It wasn't like everything went fine. They didn't lose my luggage, and all my flights were on time. To the contrary, actually, on the way back we had mechanical trouble coming out of Connecticut. That caused us to miss the aircraft in Minneapolis, and then mechanical trouble on the one that I was getting bumped to meant further delay and all that stuff. But in the midst of all of that, the way Delta handled it and the way we as the flying public were treated was absolutely fantastic. So um, it's that feeling has also been helped by, I now know some people that work for Delta, but that those feelings, were already established before I ran into them. So that would probably be my favorite airline now is Delta. Again, purely because of the customer experience. I think they've been awesome as an airline. So happy to fly them again. I will be flying them to Orlando for Flight Sim Expo in June. So I'm looking forward to that. Welcome, Sean. Glad to have you. Later, no, it's no problem. Storm left the area and had to restart your router and computer. Okay. Well, Sean, don't forget if you got any questions you want to pose as well, go ahead and put them in the Discord under the question and answer page, and be glad to answer those. Let's see here. Moving on. So that was airline and aircraft, airplane of all time. All right, that's that question. That's the thing. Chris D asks, and I don't know if he's here yet, which is sad if he's not. I know he texted me yesterday and said he was going to be traveling, so he wasn't sure if he'd be here on time. So I may have to answer this again, but since I'm not 100% sure if he is here or not. Chris D asks, would you start to learn learn how? I'm assuming learn the FS Labs A320, A319, how the A320, A319 works, with help, of course, if I buy them for you. So Airbus is not necessarily high on my list of aircraft that I'm itching to fly. It's just I'm a Boeing person myself. However,
Boing.
caveat, caveat. That being said, if someone wants to purchase the aircraft for me, I will definitely not object and will gladly learn to fly it for that. So uh,
And texture too.
definitely not that. That may come later. Depends on how I enjoy it, but we'll see. And it depends on how the paint kit's done for it too. That all varies with stuff. So the answer to that question, yes, I would. um, Let's see here. Kramer, how often do you fly while not streaming? Did you hear about Wow the Airline? Yes. Okay. So the second part of that I heard about this morning. I'm subscribed on Twitter to Air Live or something like that. I don't remember the name. In fact, let me get it because it's actually not bad if you guys are on Twitter and want to subscribe. You can get some good aviation news through them updated. And I'll find them real quick because it won't take me very long to grab that, I'm sure. They come up quite often in my stream. There it is right there. AirLive. AIRLIVE. At AirLive. It's at AirLive Net is the at thing. And so yeah, Wow Air confirms operations, end of operations, all flight canceled. So yeah, fun for them. Sad day.
Wow.
Yeah, wow indeed. Well put, crypto. So I did hear about that. The answer to the question, how often do I fly when I'm not streaming? So obviously, it used to be I flew exclusively when I wasn't streaming because I didn't always stream. Since I've started streaming, I do not fly very often when I'm not streaming, and primarily that's because the experience of flying with other people and doing the stream actually brings me a lot more joy than just doing it just by myself. However, it is nice to have the non stress of not having to deal with the stream while trying to fly too. So I will do it occasionally. I've been doing it actually recently quite a bit because I was learning the 727, and I'll usually do that when I'm learning an aircraft. I won't stream that because it's hard enough to try and manage the aircraft systems, fly, and interact with you guys, and make sure I'm trying to put an appropriate product out there. Um, and it also it's not it's kind of sometimes humiliating to not know what you're doing yet. I try to have an aura of confidence when I'm doing this, but um, not to say there isn't a time or place for that, and I do enjoy when things go wrong sometimes because it is entertaining for the stream. So, and I have very thick skin. But all that to be said, I've been doing that lately with the X-plane and the 727 specifically, just because I want to try and get my feel for that, and also because I've been trying to kind of set up that sim and find the key commands and key bindings that will work correctly for what I want to do, and also try and make it mimic as much as I can in setup in key commands and in flying commands as much as I can like P3D because that's what I'm used to, and so I don't have to like switch my brain around when I'm going to fly X-plane. It can basically be fairly turnkey. I go, okay, well the only difference is I'm flying a different sim that has some slightly different things to it for my thing. Obviously the experience of it is different, but trying to make them mimic as much as I can. So I've been finally got that. I got X camera, and so that is helped now with views and things like that. And I've got that set up, and that's been nice. So yeah. So to answer your question, maybe very rarely, I would say once a week, do I fly off stream. Although with the exception of recently when I'm trying to get X-Plane working and learn this, then I've been doing that more often. I've been doing it in a few evenings. Um, so yeah. But yeah, mostly my big blocks of time that would be available for me to do flights are the ones that I use for streaming. So other evenings I either have other stuff going on, or I don't have full blocks of time or large amounts of time, or I need to be doing other things like tracking stuff down for the stream or doing painting and stuff like that. So yeah. Animal Lover XO26 asks, "What is your favorite plane to fly?" Or sorry, my least favorite plane to fly in. Got it. Least favorite plane. So, well, hands down, I do. Well, I don't have it. Actually, I don't think I have it set up anymore. The least favorite one I've ever flown for the stream would probably be the Airbus, only because it's the Airbus and I don't know the systems, and it's a stupid side stick. Hey, Pilot Skicks, how you doing? So in that regard, I would probably say the Airbus. That was the that's not the FS Labs. That was the Aerosoft A320, and again, has nothing to do with the what do you call it? The plane itself, as far as from Aerosoft. Like it wasn't a bad model. It's just it's bad manufacturer. No, it's Airbus, and I gravitate more toward the Boeing's and the things. I enjoy the systems, but there's a certain part of me that doesn't like everything to be done for me. The over automation that I find kind of in an Airbus kind of irks me a little bit. So and that's just the way it goes. So that's it is what it is. Um,
In case you didn't notice, you're still in a little small box, not on the big screen.
I know I'm staring at myself. Would you like to see me bigger? Would that make you feel better? Does
Or
that
did you talking earlier that you were gonna become the
does
big screen?
does that help? Does that help your life a little bit better? Yeah, I didn't. I was just waiting to see if anyone cared. Um, so anyway, so there. Now I'm big. Ooh, fancy. Let's see. Animal lover is me. That's my. I had a feeling, Kelsey, that was you. I had a feeling. And I see now David is ready, so I will go back to yeah your eyes. I know the white. And yeah, I know. I'll go back to yours real quick now, David, and we'll do that. So his first question was, "What's your plan for CTP?" Which is across the pond. If you don't know the acronym, across the pond is happening Saturday. The flight for me is scheduled. I think my departure slot is 5:24, if I recall correctly. I'll have to double check that, but I believe it's 5:24 a.m. Pacific time, 12:24 Zulu. So you can do the math. Um, so my plan is probably to start the stream probably no later than 4:30 my time a.m. That gives us plenty of time to get in, get everything running and up to snuff. In case there is traffic issues, I want to be on the ready to go side versus the we're behind the curve kind of thing. So that gives us almost an hour for kind of pre-flight and getting everything ready. And I'll probably be doing some stuff on the back end even before the stream starts, but we'll probably be starting the stream at about 4:30 a.m. my time. So that would be 11:30 Zulu. The event actually starts at 11 Zulu, so it's only 30 minutes after the actual start time of the entire event. So it'll be early for me and others of you that are on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast or in Europe, obviously this will be no sweat for you, but um, it will be early for me. So I'll go to bed early the night before. Yeah,
Plan on it.
uh,
I'll be up for a while.
got it. Let's see. Next question from David was, what push-to-talk button do you recommend for VATSIM? So, if I understand your question correctly, it's what button do I prefer, like on the keyboard or on the yoke, or I'm not sure what you're meaning by that exactly. The way I do push-to-talk is, and I will take this moment now to move the camera. Dun 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 dun. Let me move some things here, cord, so we don't have problems. All right, there we go. We're gonna have to let's break the fourth wall here. There's so this down here is my yoke. This is what I fly with. This is a CH Products flight yoke, and so over here I've got my throttles set up right there, and and then obviously the rudder pedals down below, which if the lighting kicks in, maybe I can't see where all I see is black. So yeah, there's not enough
20
light.
bonus points for the northwest background.
Not enough light. Yeah, right. Yeah, this throwback Thursday there, Northwest 747 there. So 747, it's at least a 200. It may even be a one, but I think it's a two. Um, so um, anyway, the on this side, on this particular yoke, I've got two buttons I can deal with here, and then I use this for trim control. And so I use this bottom one for push to talk. There is on the other side here, you'll see these two buttons over here. These are my autopilot disconnect switches. So this is autopilot disconnect, and this is auto throttle disconnect. So when I'm flying, I can just click, click, and instantly I'm back in control. I actually use this one to mute TeamSpeak. For those of you that like to get chatty when air traffic control is trying to talk to me, sometimes I have to just cut you out real fast, and so I put it right above the push to talk, so I can just really quick boom. If I hear them starting to talk and someone else is just going on top of me, I'll just do that. I instantly can't hear you guys anymore, but I can hear VATSIM, and then I'll bring it back in. So that's what I do. It's usually whatever is easiest for you. You could also, if the button was over here, I could do it here too. But the nice thing about it over here is I'll usually have my left hand on this side anyway, because my right hand will be messing with the throttles if I'm in a position to do that, and so then I can just use my thumb to hit that push to talk. So yeah, it's like watching a Japanese movie with Discord sound and Twitch video lips don't match. Yeah, well, don't do that then. Just yeah, don't do that. Okay.
It looks almost like a home movie a little bit.
Yeah, I'll bet. Um, So anyway, so that is that's the answer. Hopefully, I don't know if that answered your question, David, but that's what I use and that's what I recommend. If you're using a keyboard for push to talk, I don't know what I would recommend. I mean, you have to find a key that you can remember and get to easily. I would probably do something like spacebar or shift, something big that you can easily get to and know where it is. You just want to obviously make sure you're doing that. Yeah, Captain Tim, when I'm doing the overall setup, I am going to walk through all of those buttons and what I have them programmed to do. But yeah, good point. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. Also, oh no, he was. Yeah, that got explained already. That wasn't your question anyway. All right, done with aviation. There's an app called Simple Flying News for Android. I follow them on Instagram. They haven't come out with a version, so I don't know if it's like. Just check them out. Okay. um, Encrypted CTP routing plans. I don't have that yet because they have not sent it to me. So I think Friday at some point we'll get an email from across the pond higher ups, whoever they are, the mysterious robots that run across the pond, and they'll send me the route. And that's so we actually for across the pond we're given the route. If you have a slot, if you don't have a slot, you have to do your own routing, obviously. But you want to be checking, you know, probably that night before at least for the updated North Atlantic tracks, so that you are on the correct ones. Kelsey, I'm sorry you're dealing with a head cold. That is no fun. I had that last week and not fun. So David, like I was explaining in earlier before you were here, if you want to post additional questions, I'd recommend still posting them in Discord because I'm going to go down the list in Discord first, and any questions posted in chat will kind of get pushed up to the top, and I may not see them. So go ahead and keep going into Discord, and then that way we just keep it all simple that way. All right, so let's see, where are we at? Let's see, we should do a 727 instructional show. Yeah, that'd be fun. That would be fun. Do you have a favorite publisher and who? Okay, Sean. So depends on what we're talking about. So for scenery, I do have a favorite publisher, and that would be Flightbeam. I really enjoy their products. They're not only are they beautiful, but they're also generally really easy on the frames for what they are, for what they put out. So Flightbeam, hands down, I love their products. I have a number of products by FS Dream Team. They're probably the close second because I've got LAX for them, Dallas Fort Worth, New York. Fly Tampa is really good too. I mean, there's a number of them that are really good out there, but Flightbeam for me takes the cake as far as scenery. We'll actually be using Flightbeam's Dulles for the across the pond we're coming into. In fact, that reminds me. Tomorrow I need to make sure I pick up the the Skipple scenery by I think it's Fly Tampa. That is that one. And that one's beautiful looking too, but I need to go get it. So I'll have scenery on both those. Two rooms, room tour. Okay, well, since it's actually been posed as a question, we'll do that now, I suppose. So this is the. I will move the camera once again, and I will try to back away from where I'm sitting and not kill myself with the headset as I'm about to strangle around the yoke. So that would be bad. This thing is nice and long, which is awesome. So let me get this out here and then see if I can see what I'm doing at the same time. So here is the kind of blown out, far away. Get over here. There we go. View of the actual sim area. So you've got the monitor on the right there is my primary flight display, if you want to use the cockpit terms, where actually I fly on. The one that is to the left of it is the computer that has chat and Streamlabs and TeamSpeak and vPilot and anything else that I choose to do. Charts desktop for Navigraph and things like that. We've got obviously my throttle quadrant, which is CH products. There we go. Right now it has, you can tell I was flying the 727 last. I got the three on there. I've got this guy that can clip on right there and becomes 4 for a 47. I can take 2 off and make it a 27. It's 37 or any other twin jet. And then these guys I can use for if I'm flying GA stuff as fuel and prop and that kind of thing. So, in fact, I think that's what that was on there from is when I was doing stuff with the DC6. I needed a prop lever and a fuel lever, so those go up. They actually come down to a detent right there, and then there's a further detent, and that I've got set to do my reverse thrust, so which is kind of cool. I have to do it differently with X-Plane, but. And then we have the, of course, the flight yoke, which I was showing you earlier, CH products. I don't actually use these guys for anything. I did before I had throttles, but now that I have throttles, these are super inconvenient, so they don't get touched. Down here,
Flaps and speed brake?
what?
Flaps and speed brake?
No. And I'll explain why. There are no detents, and so it's really hard to do. Speed brake maybe, but the
Flaps not so much.
the flaps would be a hard thing. You can see down there, kind of in the dark, that my throttle, I'm not throttle, my rudder pedals, also CH, and then this is the Big Daddy tower right here, which actually the front. Of course, the front lights aren't working for the live stream. It is lit up in there. You can kind of see, ooh, RGB.
It's hiding.
Yeah, I know. There's lights on those front fans, and they're not running because they're being stupid. So they hate me. And then over to the side here, we've got the tablet, my little electronic flight bag there. I'll put right now it's running Discord, but I'll also put um, the charts on there or my flight plan stuff on there so I can access it easily. I've got my little notepad for taking notes for TeamSpeak or not TeamSpeak for VATSIM and things like that. This over here, actually, I'll do that when I sit back down. This is just my desk. I got a bunch of stuff in there. And of course, this is kind of funny. This is a picture, which I'm gonna try to get sort of the glare of myself. This was a white elephant gift I got from somebody that took some weird picture of me, and so I just have it up there because why not?
That pose is like, are you serious?
Exactly. So I need to be like in my smoking jacket and like yeah. So I've got a fan over there, that little black thing,
That is an old fan.
and that actually it's not really old.
The one on the floor.
Oh, that no, I don't know what that's my roommate's. I don't claim that.
That's still an old fan.
It is a really old fan. But that fan over there, you notice I've got it lined up right between the two monitors, so I can get airflow right there, because otherwise it gets hot back here, and that kind
So
of.
you can simulate when you open the window up.
Sure. And then this is up here. This is just a desk lamp. I use that for lighting for the camera, so you guys can see me. This light, the main light up there, is normally not on. It's on today for the chat, but it does not. It usually lights up too much of the room when we're doing flights, especially at night for Friday night ops. There's a bunch of junk over here. That's not mine. That's roommates. His boxes of stuff that he's working on selling on eBay. The couch with a bunch of stuff on it, so I covered it with a blanket just so it's not ugly looking. It just had a bunch of fabric and stuff on it that, again, not mine. And then some more boxes of stuff that are mostly not mine. This one has some cables that are mine. And then my flight stick over there, Thrustmaster, that I hardly ever use because I use that mostly. So, and that is the room. It's this is the second story of a two-story house, so it's my personal bedroom is on the other side of there's a loft area on the other side of that wall, and then my bedroom. So we're not going over there, but you can know where it is. Let me sit back down here. Try not to kill myself with all the wires. I'll probably hang on. Yeah, make sure I'm not tangling it up in this. Okay, good. Murph. Oh, before I do that, so yeah, over here I was going to point out this. I showed this before on stream. It's been a while though. This is a military patch from a guy that grew up in my church. He is a C-17 pilot in the Air Force and flies these. So this is and they refer to their aircraft as Moose because the noise it makes when it's refueling sounds like a moose, apparently. And so anyway, so that he gave me this patch because he knew that I was doing this thing called Flying Moose, and so yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool. So that's a C-17 with a moose head and antlers as the wing, and that's kind of neat. So I have that in here too.
Moose, the new autopilot should be the white elephant gift that you got.
Yeah, yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
That Echo. You guys have that mic. At least I don't have an Echo.
It's probably because they've got their speakers on, so they're hearing the thing come back through. Needs a hat rack, yeah. Yeah, I've got the couple hats over there. Okay, so there's a room tour for you guys. Let's see. That's a questionable spelling of favorite there, Crypto. Favorite U.S. airport triangle to fly? That's a random question. Well, probably only because I'm so familiar with it because of where I live. I would say my favorite triangle, if you would be the standard kind of San Diego, L.A., San Francisco, those kind of airports. Throw in Las Vegas in there too. You could even say, L.A., Las Vegas, San Francisco, or San Diego, Las Vegas, San Francisco, and occasionally throw Fresno in there even. But that kind of area of the U.S. is where I'm most familiar with because I've been to most of those areas, and I've either flown into most of those airports or I've actually, experienced them in some other way. Um, so yeah. So just because of experience and familiarity, I would say that's probably the area that I would land the most. Favorite Class C airport and favorite Class B airport. So for those of you that don't know, the different airspaces are classified. The busiest airspaces are Class Bravo airspaces for different airports. For instance, San Francisco is a Class B airport. Los Angeles, LAX is a Class B. San Diego is a Class B. Class Cs are a scale down, and they don't require permission to enter the Class C airspace like Class B does, but you do have to establish radio communication first. So once they acknowledge you on the radio, then you're clear to come in, unless they tell you to stay out, obviously. But um, so anyway, so Fresno actually is a Class C airport. So I would have to say Fresno is my favorite Class Charlie airport, only because it's my airport. So um, so yeah, favorite Class B airport. I would say LAX again, only because of it's fantastic plane spotting. I'm very familiar with it. I love going down there and watching planes down there. So I would have to say Los Angeles is my favorite Class B airport. Let's see. Do you prefer short flights over long flights? Yes, and I'll tell you why. So for the long flights, you're not doing much. Across the pond is a little bit of an exception because we have full air traffic control the whole way. Over the ocean, we've got to do the reporting points. So there's some stuff that you got to do even as a simmer. But when you don't have ATC and you don't have any of that, and you're flying by yourself, for instance, there's nothing to do. You get up in the air and you might as well watch something on Netflix. I mean, it's like being on the airplane yourself and just trying to fill time. So the fun for me of aviation is flying the aircraft. I do enjoy the systems and knowing the systems and using the systems to make the flight a success. but at a certain point, unless you're really interacting with it, you're not doing much. With the computer flying everything, it's just not a lot to do. So the more takeoff and landings, the better, because that's when you're actually getting to fly the plane and interact and do that. So even the flight planning stage, I really enjoy because you're compiling all of this stuff to make this a success and put it out there. The cross the pond planning actually is really fun because it's a lot of data you got to compile together to do right. I mean, some people just hop in and go and wing it. I don't prefer to fly that way. I prefer to try and do this a little more realistically, and obviously with the limited experience that I do have, and thanks to a number of people that actually have real world experience that have been kind enough to impart it to me. But anyway, those kind of things are what I find enjoying about the sim and enjoy most. It's not just the hey, we're flying a big tube through the air and yay, that's cool. It kind of is, but again, if I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything, so that does get kind of boring. So anyway, if that answers your question, I would prefer the short flights over the long flights. I do though prefer the bigger aircraft over the smaller aircraft because they're fun to know you can move around these big giant behemoths. So it's kind of the catch 22 of that. I don't want to fly the long hauls, but I want to fly the long haul aircraft, and so it is whatever. Let's see, another one from David. What are you doing for tomorrow's flight into O'Hare? I don't know yet. I was hoping Southwest 8080 actually was talking to me about trying to come along for that and kind of coordinate something. So I don't know if he kind of sounded like we might be flying out of Chicago. I don't know if we'll fly into Chicago. We'll see. So I told him to stop by tonight during the Q&A, and so he may, and so we may have an answer to that, but I don't yet know uh, what the plan is necessarily for tomorrow night for Friday Night Ops. I just know it is centered around Chicago, and that's all I know at the moment. And we'll be flying to some extent within that airspace at some point. So he just ended his stream, yeah. So he may come over here. Who knows? We'll see. I did see he was flying into Fort Myers before I started. So yeah, hopefully he'll stop by. Let's see. ABQ is a fave. In a spiteful, hateful sort of way, sure. I have to say, as any creator of content, I love having, for lack of a better term, I love having kind of a personalized meme, something that is unique to this stream that we can laugh about and kind of have a commonality with. So uh, any good stream I think has elements of that, or any good program really has a good elements of that. And so I'm happy to have discovered that in Albuquerque. I mean, it happens from happenstance. I mean, it's like with Juan, the same thing happened there. That was totally random, and it became a thing that kind of even lasts to this day in a kind of a quasi form, but it became a staple of the channel just because of how it happened and random circumstance. So, um, but yeah, so I love to hate it. Let me put it that way. There's nothing about Albuquerque I've ever really been intrigued by as a area or an airport. I don't have any desire to visit it in real life, but yeah, it definitely makes things fun and interesting on the stream. So, favorite flight is Houston to Albuquerque. No, but that's one of the favorite memories of the stream. I will say that. Um, so yeah. Most memorable, not you, ABQ moment. Is that a question,
Truth,
Crypto?
what's your favorite thing of seeing someone else goof up?
Seeing someone else goof up?
Yes.
Hmm. I don't usually remember those very often because
Well, we had one recently.
where someone else did. Well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you're talking. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, that ranks high only because, and I'll explain. So that he's referring to, I'm pretty sure, Captain Tim's running off the runway in where was that? Was that Narita?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Tokyo Narita.
Yeah, so he's referring to that. I was explaining to someone the other day. I think we were bantering back and forth. I said that made me smile so much, only because Captain Tim is the epitome of excellence and and when it comes to the sim, and so to have that happen to him, it just is fantastic. It's just like, oh, good. It does happen to him too. Not that it was necessarily your fault because the sim screwed up and things didn't engage right, but still, it's nice to know that
Yeah, it was classic.
Captain Tim is human too. So
I do have to ask Tim though. Did you feel to leave the auto throttles on?
No, I knew exactly what was going on. It's just that when I moved my thrust reversers on, they weren't tied to the sim, so I went soaring down the runway.
At high speed. Let's see. Yeah, I bet my favorite aircraft is the 747 SP. No. So my favorite aircraft, while being the 747, one of my least favorite aircraft in the real world is the 747 SP because I think it looks stupid. It's shrimpy. It's got a really giant tail for a small body. It's like a T-Rex. I got a big head, and little arms. It's one of those kind of things. I don't like it. I don't like the look of it. So it's right out. Kramer, I saw you had a stream thing. What do the buttons do, David? No, it's a 747 Max. Max 11-11. What the heck? I don't know what that is. So you're referring to the Stream Deck, though. So that is this guy down here. Let me move the camera again. This one's a little easier to get to because it's just right here. So that's this little guy here. This is by Elgato, the Elgato Stream Deck, and this is what I control all the buttons and stuff. So as I touch this is going to change it to the small cam back. And boop, there we go. Back to large cam, and I can even fill the screen entirely with the game. Oh! So actually, can I turn that? There we go. Turn that back off. So and you get different pages. So as I set this up here, let me see if this will focus on it because it's kind of bright. I don't know what the camera's autofocusing is doing, but so this is like the black screen. This is my intro for the stream. This is the game mode, which is the primary when we fly in with the when I'm doing flight sim itself. The outro. The go live button, if I was to touch that right now, then the stream would just end. So we're not going to do that, obviously. So I got my autopilot mode set up here. It won't do it here because I'm in a different scene. So some of these won't work right now. But I can do this and hit the promotion thing, and I'll bring the Expo guy in. Of course, he's behind that, so it doesn't do a whole lot of good. So I'm going to turn that back off. It looks stupid because I didn't do that. Record is if I wanted to, which I don't know if you could read that. Record is if I was going to record locally to the desktop. But in my setups here, this is where I have the chat thing and some different versions of that set up. So this has been really handy. This has been a kind of a game changer for me. Really enjoyed it. It makes doing the stream and switching between different parts of the stream setup seamless and not clunky where I'm looking at the keyboard and trying to find the other screen and where do I need to click to do that, and it's a push of a button, and it makes it really nice for the smoothness of the stream. And I've also been able to build in, and I'll go into this when we kind of go into the setup details a little more, some special effects that I can use in the game. So the chime that you'll hear occasionally is triggered off of there. The different sounds and mic noise for me doing the PA announcements is triggered through that, stuff like that. So but yeah, so it's been really cool. It's an expensive little bugger. I think it was like $150 or something. But it it has, you can add as many pages as you want and just as many options and what you can think of. And so I'm constantly kind of adding to it as I think of new ways to make it better. What I haven't done a whole lot is mess with the icons a lot and kind of really customize a lot of them. So they all look very similar. So right now I kind of know where stuff is, but I'd like to kind of customize them more so they kind of stand out a little bit more and they're easier to find just because right now I haven't gotten that creative yet. But that will come in time. Most of that's because I'm trying to still kind of figure out where I want stuff on that thing and how I want to do that. So
You should add an encrypted shut up button.
yeah, if only it were that simple. I'll tell you, it actually was quite a work of. I realize this is, you guys may have been talking about an echo. That may have been me. I'm just now realizing. The it actually took a bit of work to try and get it to a point where I was trying to figure out how to mute TeamSpeak without muting, because when you mute the mic in TeamSpeak, you also mute my audio going into it. And so doing a speaker mute does a mic mute automatically, even though it doesn't show that it's doing that, it actually is doing that. And so I wanted to be able to mute TeamSpeak, but still have TeamSpeak be able to hear me in the event that I was having to, like, for instance, this was specifically for the broadcast announcement. So when I do the PA, I was discovering I always had to mute TeamSpeak because there was always someone. I started doing my PA and someone would just interrupt me while I'm talking and try to, oh, I'm doing this. I can name names. It actually wasn't Crypto that was the problem with this one, but I could name who it was. But it was just frustrating. It was just like, okay, but if I can mute TeamSpeak, but then the people that are listening on TeamSpeak exclusively because they've turned their sound off won't hear that I'm doing that and just think I cut the audio for some reason. So it was not Tim either. No. It's actually no one that's on here right now that I see anyway. Um, but so anyway, so
Was
I
he British?
no, no, that was a whole nother mute issue. um, but so what I had to do, because there's no way to do that in TeamSpeak, and there was no way to program the buttons, so I had to actually go through and like link it to my physical speakers, turn the physical speakers off, but link it through there, and then have it come through Streamlabs and tell that button to mute those speakers, and so it gives me the effect of muting TeamSpeak without actually muting it. It was actually an interesting workaround that I had to do. But because of that, whenever I turn these speakers on, you'll get an echo because it's coming through there, and I can't hear that because my ears are blocked off. So that was probably the echo Crypto is referring to. I just happened to reach over when I was talking about it and went, oh, they're on. So that hopefully will have fixed that. But anyway. TB. Yeah, no, the yeah, anyway. All right, that is, let's see. Encrypted also asked then 747 Super Lifter or 748 Dream Lifter. I'm not sure what the Super Lifter is. What is that?
The super lifter was 747's Dream Lifter before they remodeled it with the 800 with the newer engines and all the new stuff. It's a little bit smaller than the Dream Lifter. It was the original part shuttle for Boeing.
Okay. Before they did the fuselage change?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's just a regular cargo 747 at that point?
Well, it was still had the expanded cargo hold that the Dream Lifter has. It is the Dream Lifter one is actually bigger than the originals, so it
Well,
had a smaller one.
because the Dream Lifter was called the Dream Lifter from the get-go. I remember that when they first started using it. I mean, there's only 4 of them. So
Maybe I'm thinking of the shuttle that's the NASA 747.
I think you might be thinking of the NASA one because that is different. That might be called the Super Lifter with the extended tail fins on it, and yeah, that was cool to see. Actually watch them bring what was it?
Enterprise.
No, that one's over in New York.
Atlantis.
Nope.
Columbia.
Columbia blew up.
Discovery.
No, there's another one.
Challenger. No,
Challenger blew up too. What is the other one? There's one more. I want to say Intrepid, but that's not right. That's an aircraft carrier.
One of them.
What is the name? That's gonna bug me.
Challenger?
No, Challenger exploded in '86.
He knows that date.
And then the three of them we say are the ones that blown up.
I know, right?
Those are the famous ones.
I'm looking it up right now. It'll tell me here in just a second. Give me the names of them. Origin. I don't care about any of that.
Discovery?
No.
Endeavor?
Endeavor. That's it. Endeavor.
Honor, Blitzen, Cupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the one in LA right now.
Yeah, and that's
Rudolph.
that's why I got to see it because I went down when they flew it into LAX and did the flyby with it and then landed on it. It was really cool to see. So, but yeah, so that I think is probably the Super Lifter. The Dream Lifter is the one with the big old expanded out fuselage and holds the parts for the Dreamliner and other things. So,
I see Amsterdam.
what? Amsterdam? What?
It's Amsterdam with an H in front of it.
I know. I'm confused.
But it's not supposed to be a hamster, so why is it a Amsterdam?
Yeah.
It's such a small city.
Oh my gosh. What? I don't know what's in your head
Oh,
sometimes.
Crypto.
Anyway, so I would say of those two, I would prefer probably the Super Lifter if that's what it is, the space shuttle one, only because it still looks more like a 747. The other one kind of looks like a weird, I don't know, mutation. I mean, it's cool, but it just kind of looks. Still better though than the SP. Still better than the SP. Let's be clear.
And for bonus points, who operates the Dream Lifters?
Good question.
Boeing.
Nope, that'd be illegal.
Yeah, I want to say it's Atlas.
Bingo, you got it.
Yeah. I know
Why would
things.
it be illegal?
Because an aircraft manufacturer cannot operate an airline.
Yep, that got broken up back in the day. Way back in the day.
Didn't know that.
Yep. BW Flight Simulation, how's it going? Welcome to the stream, sir. Let's see. There is a some reason used for firefighting. I don't. Is that called the super lifter though? The
No,
firefighting one? That's
a modified 747-800. It's called the Boeing Super Tanker.
super tanker. Yeah, that one. That's cool. I've seen that up close.
That is cool.
That's
I've
an
seen
impressive aircraft.
That's Evergreen, isn't it?
I don't know if that one is. The Evergreen did one with a. Oh, it might be Evergreen. I don't remember if that ended up being that one or not. I know Evergreen was doing one, but it might be. It might be. I'm not 100% though. But yeah, that's cool. So you said I would hate to be in the drop zone of that one. Yeah, exactly. Um, David, did you see my beautiful image on Discord? Well, where on Discord did you post it? In the photo gallery? Because I've been stuck in the.
Yeah, photo gallery.
Okay. Oh, it's a 747 SP with little arms. I love it. That is fantastic. Oh, that is awesome. Well,
Oh
well
my
played.
God.
Well played. You didn't find that somewhere, right? You did that real quick, I assume.
Yeah, just
Okay.
with two
That
images.
should be your new wallpaper.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yes.
I'm like desecrating my
No,
computer
no,
with
Do
that.
it.
the Northwest has a lot of props behind it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well done. Well done. Um, so anyway, okay, let's see here. That's that. Okay. So that is, let me see if there's any other questions that I'm missing so far. Again, feel free to ask more questions, guys, if you have them. Otherwise, we'll get into setup stuff on the sim.
Why don't you walk through the whole plan for FS Expo?
Sure, we can do that. So a reminder, guys, FS Expo is coming up in June 7th through the 9th, technically. I will be flying out on the 7th. That's a Friday. Out of LAX. Believe my flight was supposed to be at 11. I think now it's like 10 because they moved it a little bit. But as of right now, I'm supposed to be flying on a 757-300 for Delta from LAX direct to Orlando. I'll be getting into Orlando, I believe, around 5:30ish, something like that. I have to double check, but it should be somewhere around there. Early evening.
You should fly that flight on your sim.
We might
Yeah,
do that. We might do that. at
Yeah, I
some
think
point.
I'm getting in about 17:15
Okay.
on Friday too. So
Yeah, so we'll be coming in
if you
pretty
wanna
close to
buddy
each
up
other.
for the ride to the hotel.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I can no problem hanging around the airport for a while waiting for you. So Friday night will be that we'll get to the hotel, and there's not really anything, I think, flight sim specific that night, at least that I'm aware of yet, that I'll be participating in. Obviously, running into people and catching up and saying hi and finding people as best we can. Obviously Tim, because he'll be coming in at this about the same time, and I believe Chris D is going to be already there. I think he's getting in there on Wednesday because he's doing a whole family vacation with that too. So probably try and meet up with him as well. Again, if anybody else is going, feel free to hit me up on Discord or Twitter or Instagram or any of those. Let me know because I'd love to catch up and meet you guys.
Do you know if they're going to do a What's Up or whatever that thing was tied to the Instant Messenger tied to the FS Expo?
I'm sure they will. Last time we didn't find out about that until a lot closer to it, but they did the same thing for the Flight Sim Con when I was there the year before. So I would imagine they'll probably be doing that again. That seems to be a really
it might be a good idea to set up a Moose Crew channel on that if it's
yeah, if it's
available.
possible. I don't know, but it's a really good way if you know who you're trying to find to use that because you can message people through that. And so I ended up doing that with a few people at Flight Sim Con. And and then also with this last one at Expo too. So it's a good way if you know someone's going to be there, you can find them on that list and DM them basically and do that way. So you don't have to have people's text messages. Although some of you have mine, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so we'll get in Friday. Saturday, there is a dinner that I'm not sure who exactly is kind of officially in charge of it, putting together, but Brad M, who's a big streamer, John Fly, who's a big streamer, I think Chili Willy's, a number of these kind of big name streamers are hosting just a dinner at some place. I can't remember the name of the place now off the top of my head. I think I put the invite into uh, uh, here into Discord at some point, because basically they've just opened it up to anybody that wants to come hang out and do dinner. They just need people to RSVP ahead of time so they can make sure we've got the right count. It'll be a very large group, but so I'm planning to participate with that and do that. So if you're going again and want to do that, uh, Brad M has a continuous link on his to go there and RSVP. I believe I put it on mine at some point there, and we can do that. Um, there should be a Moose Cruise dinner. Yeah. Well, and I would be more apt to do that if I had a larger following that was going to the thing, but also if there were, really good food options in the immediate vicinity. The tough part about this is there's not much there.
And if it costs $76 per plate.
Yeah, right. We will not be doing that, obviously. So anyway, so it's just some logistical issues. They were doing it. I thought it'd be fun to kind of hang out with those guys and participate. I think they tried to do something like that last year in Vegas, but I don't know how official it got. And this year it's kind of being planned ahead of time, which is good. So I thought that would be fun to do. So we'll be doing the dinner. That'll be Saturday night, I believe. Obviously, Saturday during the day is the actual conference. So there'll be a number of we'll find out on the with the WhatsApp or whatever they use, what the various times are for the various different offerings and speakers, and then obviously you can roam the floor and check out the different booths, see what kind of interesting things developers are coming out with and offering. I'm really curious now to check out the alpha yoke or whatever it is, because they're supposed to be there with their stuff. So that'll be interesting. I want to really see that throttle quadrant there. It actually looks really cool. So anyway, so things like that it's a really great opportunity to do a lot of hands-on with the hobby without having to spend the money to buy all the products, because you can see them at that point. So Relic 29, thank you for the follow. Welcome aboard. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in Discord. If you don't have Discord, you can put them in chat at this point, because we're kind of at the end of the Discord questions. We're talking about Flight Sim Expo, which is Flight Sim Con essentially, but yeah, so Flight Sim. So anyway, that will be Saturday, and then Sunday. I don't know if there's anything really truly special happening aside from the other the day 2 of the conference, and then I will be flying back Monday. I think kind of late morning. I think the flight's at like 11 or something like that out of Orlando, and I get back into LA, and then I have to drive back from LA to Fresno, because I'm flying in and out of LA, because it's about half the price of trying to do it out of Fresno, because Fresno is stupid when it comes to their pricing. Fresno in general, just they're kind of an anti-business climate. They try to charge high fees for everybody, and they don't understand that it's charging the low stuff that gets people in the door, and then you can get money off of them. They just anyway, that's a whole nother rant. It's kind of a California thing.
And also remember during the lectures to book a seat next to Moose and I, just because the heckling is primo.
It is true. You will want to be within earshot. I'm sure the heckling will be in full form for the Expo conference. So is Vegas cheaper? Oh, you mean to fly out of Vegas? It might be. I don't know, but it's also a 6-hour drive for me to Vegas, whereas LA is about a 3.5. So it doesn't make that kind of goes beyond the the amount I'm willing to drive to make it worth it. So LA, I checked flights out of LA, Santa Ana, Ontario. I think even Santa Barbara, and then also San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, and Fresno. And of all of them, the option for direct obviously was the best, and the price was the best out of LA. So hence
and also
to LA I go.
If you book on one of the airlines that are mentioned for FS Expo, they are offering a slight discount. I think it's 10% or 15% off the price.
Yeah, there is a discount code, so make sure you check that before you book your flight if you want to get that, because I think it's Delta, I think WestJet, and
yeah, WestJet.
There was another one. I don't remember. Was it Southwest?
Wow.
Was there on the list? I don't remember.
No, I don't think Southwest was. I think it might have been WoW out of Iceland.
Well, not anymore. It's not.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But make sure you use whatever codes you have for either rooms or transportation. Make sure you use those, because if a lot of people use those, it gets the hotel attention. It gets the attention of the carriers to probably offer deeper discounts next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So as much as you can use those things, again, it just shows that that's actually providing an incentive, and they'll offer them because they will feel like they'll get more business that way. So that's why they do it. So yeah, awesome. You can find those codes on the Flight Sim Expo website. They're actually posted there. When it comes to the travel stuff, there's the discount codes are listed, or what to say, or the link to use to get them. So go to the FS Expo website. I think it's fsexpo.com. I think it's as simple as that. I want to say.
Moose, you should know this. You're their media partner.
I know. I really should. No, it's not fsexpo.com. That's wrong. It's flightsimexpo.com. So it's all spelled out. There it is. Flightsimexpo.com. Oh, or not. Whoa, hang on. Did I spell? Oh, that's fightsimexpo.com. That's a different event.
Yeah, it's right there in the Nightbot.
Let's go there. Yeah, so there we go. Let me do, if we see if this will work. Stand by.
Yeah, I got it here. Travel discounts.
Second monitor. That puts down. Go to small cam. There we go, and then we can pull that up. So here's the Flight Sim Expo website. So yeah, so if you go to venue and logistics up here, you can book hotel rooms, travel discounts right here. So Delta, Southwest, WestJet, and then just some discounted shared shuttles, rental car discounts, Lyft discount, other things like that. So yeah, definitely take advantage of those. The Renaissance Orlando is the hotel it's happening at, and so get your rooms now. But yeah, that's the guy there. Turn that back off, and we'll go back to full cam. Fourth Doctor gonna call it a night. All right, we'll see you later. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow for flights Friday Night Ops. Let's see here. Favorite non-U.S. airline, Lufthansa. I am half German, and it's a very, I don't know, I like it. I would say probably the one after that would probably be British Airways, mainly because I love their Landor livery. I'm really happy they brought it back for that retro jet, because that is probably one of my favorite liveries by them. But yeah, Lufthansa. I've never been on Lufthansa, but it looks nice. So it's not without a lot of. I mean, the only foreign airline I've ever been on was El Al Israel, and that was to go to Tel Aviv back 2 years ago. And it was an okay experience. The plane there, it was a 777 that was an older one. It was probably almost 20 years old. The aircraft, I looked it up, and it left something to be desired, especially in the entertainment side of things. On the way back, it was a newer aircraft that made a ton of difference. They had updated their infotainment system and stuff like that, so that was better. But yeah, it's nothing like having a kind of a really old school infotainment system on a 15-hour flight with a whole bunch of babies around you screaming and yelling, and the air conditioning wasn't working that great, so it was kind of hot and stuffy. And then I was in the middle seat because of how they did the seating, so that was not cool either. So the way back was much better. I was on the window side for that one. The air conditioning was working much better. There weren't as many babies. The entertainment system was better. So yeah. All right. Too bad Flight Expo isn't coming to my hometown. I would love to meet you officially. Yeah, we'd love to meet you as well, Kelsey. So maybe someday we'll be up in your neck of the woods. Like I said, Flight Sim Con for years was in Hartford, Connecticut, so that was not that far from you. So I was up there 2 years ago. Now it's Expo. We'll see where they go. They seem to be moving it around. So who knows? Maybe one day it'll be back up in the kind of New England area up there. So, yeah. I mean, I would enjoy meeting any of you guys. Let's see. I know you're not a big baseball fan, but favorite baseball team? Yeah. So I'm really not, and I really don't pay attention to it that much. To some extent, I would probably say the Giants, because that's kind of like the local team for us. Um, so probably the Giants, if I had to say, only because it's the only baseball game outside of like the local AAA team that we have here that I've ever been to was a Giants Stadium. I've been to a few of those because of with friends and stuff. So I'm familiar with some of the players and stuff. So, but yeah, I really don't follow baseball that much. It's just not my cup of tea. Much more of a football fan. So, but if I had to say, I guess probably the Giants. Um, let's see, you missed the last one. So what exactly are we going to do now that we are out of? Wait, what do you mean that we missed the last one? Which last one? State your business, sir. Let's see. Yeah, the Astros have their minor league team out of Fresno. I think. Yeah. It used to be. Grizzlies used to be the feeder for the Giants, and then they switched it. Now I believe it is the Astros that we're the feeder for at this point. Never mind on that. Okay, so never mind. All right, so if the questions so far are done, again, feel free to keep posting them because we'll go into flight sim setup stuff and information on that. But then we'll come back and check and see if any more questions have gotten posted, and we'll answer that before we close out the stream today. Um, so on the flight sim side of things, I'm going to switch the camera around a little bit and. Actually, so first of all, before we do that, let me talk about some externals that I think are good to have for doing flight sim, and so that's other third-party software that I find necessary to stream nowadays, and that I use. So biggest on that list, one of the biggest anyway, is when it comes to flight planning, and that is SimBrief. So if you're not familiar with SimBrief, you really should get acquainted with it. It's a fantastic program and it's free. They do take donations, and I would recommend you give them some because they do a lot of work for no official repayment. But they are a fantastic site. So let me bring that up here. I'm going to switch over to the small cam and the second monitor so we can do that, and I'll show you. So it's just I've got it linked here. It's simbrief.com, and I'm currently logged in. You just set up an account. It's free. But basically what it allows you to do, it'll interact with your Navigraph air rack updates if you're doing that, and I'll explain that in a moment. So it'll integrate with that. But basically you go into your dispatch system and to create a flight, and you give it the parameters of your flight, and it will generate all the info for you, create a route for you based on it. Usually pulls from a couple of the major um, route finder areas like FlightAware, SkyVector, Route Finder. These are the ones it's pulling from basically, and it'll give you the most popular one based on the selection. But based on the current weather, it will tell you what your most likely departure or arrival runway is. This, obviously you have to take that with a grain of salt because certain airports have default de facto runways that they only stray from if the winds become a certain amount. It's not necessarily, we'll go with, like, Minneapolis is a good example. They have runway 4. They don't use it even if the winds are coming 040 at 5. They'll use, one of the other main sets, but they will use it if the winds become so strong out of, 040 that it, necessitates the use of it. But they prefer to use the other runways that they have them. So that's not always the case, but it gives you a good starting place. But you can set a lot of this stuff to auto, or you can set it yourself. But the other cool thing about this is you can actually, and you'll see here, I've got a bunch of airframes saved. You can save airframes. You can go in here and go to my fleet, and you can actually go in and add an airframe. And so let's say we were going to add a, let's just, for the sake of argument here, we were going to add a 757 freighter. Let's say proceed. And so you can put a note on it. So for my case, I usually put Westwind or something, so I remember that that's my Westwind variant for that. The ICAO code is there. A lot of stuff is filled in already, but you can put in whatever your registration is for it. But where it comes in handy big time is down here. You can specify the empty weight of the airplane, the max zero fuel weight, the max takeoff weight, the max landing weight, the max fuel capacity, and the passenger weight, and then set a fuel factor and even a default cost index. By doing that, when you set your passenger and cargo loadouts to random, they will generate within the boundaries of that aircraft. So what you have sometimes is, like a 757 can hold a certain amount of people as stated by Boeing. But that number fluctuates based on the carrier's configuration of the seats. So whether they do a first class and economy configuration, whether they do all economy, whether they, there's a number of configurations they can choose from as carriers. Well, the manufacturer of the plane for flight sim, so whether that's whether that's PMDG or Captain Sim or whoever, has come up with their own configuration that aircraft is, and so there is a max passenger count for that aircraft, and it may not line up with what the default is that SimBrief's looking at. So you can specify that here based on weights and things. So you can say, hey, it can only hold, like right now it's max passenger is 25. Now this is a cargo variant, so that makes some sense, but even that seems a bit high. So usually for cargo, I just set this to 0 because I don't want to giving me passengers. I just want it giving me freight. But if I was doing it as a passenger variant, I might say my configuration, my Captain Sim 757 says it can only hold 230 people. So I'm not going to set it higher than 230 because I don't want to give me 240, and then I go to load the aircraft and I can't put more than 230 on it anyway. That's just annoying. So this allows you to use the random generations, but still have them be accurate to your model. And by giving it the operating empty weight, when it calculates the passenger load plus the fuel and all that stuff, it will give you an actual accurate zero fuel weight that you should end up with, because it knows what the aircraft is supposed to weigh when you don't have anything on it. And so all that stuff is pretty cool. The fuel factor, by the way, is, again, depending on how the manufacturer of the simulated aircraft did their job, it may burn fuel better or worse than the actual plane in its environment what SimBrief is using to calculate. So if you discover that, I load up and it recommends fuel, I'm always short by 5,000 pounds by the time I get to my destination, you can kind of figure out what percentage of that is in error and change that. So this is by going positive, P for positive and M for minus. You can increase the fuel factor by certain percentages. So this is 9%, 10%, 7%, or decrease it by the same percentages to better model the fuel thing. So you'll have to do that over a number of flights and kind of discover, hey, SimBrief's always getting this wrong. That's where you can change that, because however they modeled it is different than what SimBrief's numbers are coming from. So, and then you can set a default cost index. This just saves you time, so you don't have to set it every time you're going to fly the aircraft. But so once you do that, then your flight is much more accurately modeled to what you're actually using in the sim, and you can do that. So it's a cool way to do that. I'm gonna go back here and one more. There we go. So what you'll see though is I'm just gonna put something in here for the sake of demonstration. So WWA is our West Wind number. I always fly as 1990 because that's my ID. But if we were going to do a flight from Fresno, which is lovingly titled KFAT, Fresno Air Terminal, and we were going to go to say Seattle, if my stupid fingers would hit them in the right order. Now it's trying to find what PTSA is, which who knows where that is. Yeah, abort. Stop. KSEA. There we go. So what you've noticed it's done is it started to calculate some stuff here. It hasn't filled a lot of other things in because I haven't selected the aircraft. But the minute I select one of these aircraft, let's just say we're going to do the Westwind 737. Now it is filled in because I have the stuff set in. It's default cost index to the aircraft to 80, which is what I fly with. It's got the registration. It has the profiles for descent and climb, and fuel factor set to 0 at the moment. But now, based on the aircraft, it knows what speed it will be flying at approximately, and it knows the weather. So it can tell me the scheduled time en route is 2 hours and 20 minutes. That will be higher than what it should actually take, but it's, that's why it's scheduled. It tells me what it assumes will be the departure runway and what it assumes will be the arrival runway. Again, these will depend on actual airport procedures, but this means the winds are probably favoring 29 and 16 is what's happening there. You can find that out in the weather, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Taxi out time, taxi in time, these are usually pretty stock numbers for the type of jet you're flying. You can select to carry extra fuel at this point. You can put in an altitude or have it just auto-generate an altitude for you. And then here you can set it to give you a set amount of passengers, which you notice stops at 162. Or I can do auto, or I can just do full. And same thing with cargo. I can specify cargo, or I can say auto. I usually just leave these all auto so it can random generate for me, and they'll be within the parameters. So it kind of works out nicely for that. And then it gives you, you'll notice there's a number of flight plans here. They all actually are fairly similar, but they're a little different. And it's given me the first one of these, the CZQ, which is Clovis BOR, Shimmer, LKV, which is Salmon, I think, and Hawk 27, or sorry, Hawks 7 arrival into Seattle. So, and that's looking at, because what it's doing is it's trying to look for flights that actually go between Fresno and Seattle, and trying to give you a flight based on that. So, or a route based on that, and then it gives you the map. So once you're ready to do that, you would hit generate OFP. It would actually generate the full-on flight plan in a simple form, and then also with all the details too, if you want to read all that and understand that, which is kind of cool. You can also uncheck some stuff, so it won't include things if you don't need them. Like we wouldn't need ETOPS on this flight because we're not flying over water. We probably wouldn't care about doing step climbs for this, but you could. If you don't want the NOTAMs or the FIR NOTAMs, you don't have to have them. If you want simple maps versus detailed maps, I mean, there's so many options here. And even the OFP, which is Operational Flight Plan, it defaults to the Lido style here, but you can have it generate in an American Airlines style flight plan, in a was it Air Canada? I think it's Air France in 2012 or 2017 version. America West, British Airways. I don't know if that's Air Berlin or what that is, but they're defunct now anyway. Delta, Lufthansa, EGD, I think is Etihad, EasyJet, I'm assuming, JetBlue, so KLM, the list goes on. So, so if you like how they do their flight plans or want to see how their flight plans generally look, you can actually do it that way and see them that way. So it's a super cool program. It's super robust and it is free. So why not? What is cool after you've done this, you'll get some options up here. You can actually export the flight plan out to either PMDG aircraft, Captain Sim aircraft. There's a whole list of different aircraft. You can export it in a plan file that those aircraft are designed to be able to read, so you can import them directly into your FMCs. You can also export them as a P3D / FSX file that FSX or P3D is designed to just read. You can export them to your weather program, all kinds of stuff. And then you also can pre-file with Pilot Edge or VATSIM. It'll preload all the information onto their specific form if you've put in your IDs, and then you just hit submit and it files your flight plan for you. So all kinds of built-in stuff here. You should just go poke around here and explore and see what it can do. And then you can also update your AirRack, which I'm actually going to do right now because the new AirRack just came out the other day. So we were on 1903. 1904 is now out as of today, the 28th. And so because I have an active account with Navigraph, I'll go into that next. I just go over here to unlock, and it's going to it check. I've already synced this up before, so it already knows to check it. Just goes, okay, you're done, and it will switch over. And now I'm using the current AirRack data. This is current air navigation data for the current time, so it's as up to date as you can get. It'll give you the up to date flight plans that have the up to date routes, and it will exclude any SIDS and stars and navigation points that have been eliminated from that AirRack and things like that. So yours always update. So the next thing I'll have to do is go into the Navigraph data manager and do that for all my aircraft, but at least now SimBrief is up to date. So that is SimBrief. That is, again, one of the primo flight planning tools. Highly recommend you look into getting. The next thing I'll mention, because it comes on the heels of that, is Navigraph, and that's an option for charts. So if you go over here to Navigraph, there are two aspects of this. Navigraph, there we go. Learn to spell. There are two aspects of this. One is for charts, and one is for FMS data. So the AirRack that I was alluding to a second ago is the FMS data. Every, I think it's like 28 days or something like that, the FMS data is done with changes to procedures and various things, and so your AirRack data is only good for 28 days, and then it's out of date. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've lost tons of data and you're completely gone, because there's only minor changes here and there around the area, but sometimes it can affect different procedures quite greatly. And so the further away you get from the active ARAC, the more and more you're using really outdated data. So Navigraph offers a subscription cost to update every month. Now you can do that and you can do it for, just get a month's worth of data, like get the 1904. And some people do that. They only want to update once a year. That's fine. It's better than being on, 1602 or whatever was the one from way back when. So, so all you do is you sign up for the monthly subscription, and Navigraph actually recommends this is how you do it. Sign up for the monthly subscription. It's a recurring subscription. Download your cycle, and then cancel your subscription. That's all you got to do. Navigraph doesn't have a problem with you doing that. It's their version of you bought it for the month, because the recurring subscription is the monthly charge to do that every month, basically. So they have no problem with that. You actually get a little bit of a better deal because there are 13 ARAC cycles in a year as opposed to 12, because every 28 days or so. But Navigraph charges you monthly, so you actually get an extra cycle for free if you do the whole subscription for the year. But if you only want to do it once a year or once a quarter or twice a year, that's all you got to do. So don't be fooled by I don't want the subscription. Do the subscription. Once you get it, just go right back in and cancel it. There's no problem with that. It's worry free. You've got your data now. You're good to go.
That's what I did with the ultimate one.
Yeah, so there you go. The other side of it, though, is the subscription that allows you to use charts. Now, this one you do have to have the active subscription going, so it's not a one and done, download all the charts and then you can update them later. This is in order to use them, you have to have the subscription. So data, you can do kind of a one and done. This one, which again, I find I can't fly without anymore. I shudder to think how I did this before Navigraph. So I'm not going to download the charts app because I already have it. So I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you how it's done. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that because I go in differently. So once you're in there, this is called Charts Cloud. This is through Navigraph, charts.navigraph.com. It will probably already have me in here because I'm already logged in. So yeah. So basically, you come in here, and if I went to flights, you can actually see a map. Check it out. Here's our jumping off points for the across the pond, which we're actually going this way. But so here's world map, all the charts, all the routes. I mean, this is just, you can geek out on this all day if you wanted to. And this is only the start of it, because this just gives you the overview maps. You can see the FIRs, the Los Angeles Center right there, Oakland Center's jurisdiction, Seattle Center's jurisdiction, all of the jet routes or Q routes and whatever they are. You can look at, we're in high altitude mode right now. You can switch this back to low altitude mode and see the low altitude routes and the VORs and whatever it is. This will connect to your sim and show your plane overlaid on it, so you can see where you are if you want to do it that way. But the ultimate thing for this is just the map. The ultimate is going to the airports and saying, you know what, we're going to fly out of Fresno. Let's get our charts for Fresno. And so we link that up. There's Fresno Yosemite International. That's the airport. And they're laid out here, taxi, SID, star, approach, and then reference for all the reference material. But for taxi, there's the airport and airport info. So you get our airport map. I have these, by the way, for some of you that are wondering why the heck it looks like this. This is how it will be default in day mode. This is what you're normally going to see your JEP charts look like, is white. I just, from a computer screen side of things, I love the look of this so much better. And when you're flying in dark times too, this just is easier on the eyes. So I run all of mine in night mode. So this is just, if you want to do that little switch right there is what does that. But this gives you the airport layout, all the taxiways, gives you your runway lengths, your runway headings, and just gives you good overview. Again, the clicking on this, if you toggle traffic, this will put in your airplane. It'll connect through SimConnect to P3D. I don't know if this works with X-Plane or not, but at least with it does. Okay, cool. So with X-Plane or P3D or FSX, you can connect them in and you'll see where you are on the terminal. It makes taxiing a lot easier if you're unsure about where you are, or if you're at Schiphol, where the taxi is a nightmare. It gives you all the info that you would need if you were, doing this for real and needed to be briefed on all the various different obstacles and low vis taxi route information, stuff like that. There's not a ton of information at this airport because it's Fresno. It's pretty low impact, but at some of the bigger ones, there's tons of information here. But you can look at the SIDS, the different SIDS, which again are super basic out of Fresno. The Bulldog 3, which is basically take off and go to your you go to your waypoint. Coaldale, the Yosemite, which is the other thing in the other direction. Take off obstacle notes. The star, there's only 2 stars in Fresno, the Alta 8 and the Given 6. And there they are. So that's the Given, that's the Alta. And then the approach. So if you need the approach chart for the ILS runway 29 right, there it is. There's the profile. You get all the missed approach info, the localizer code, the final approach course, the MSA, the missed approach, all the minimums information, the distance, the all just everything, the lights, everything. So it's super helpful and makes planning your flights into airports you've never been into really possible because without this information you're just guessing and you're hoping, and that's not a good way to fly. So super
Can I
helpful.
jump in here, Moose, real quick?
You absolutely may.
Yeah, 2 things. First off, the Navigraph charts is the entire world, which is incredible.
Yes.
So if you're flying in the Orient, just fire this thing up and use the proper ICAO code, and you have the charts for Beijing or Bangkok or wherever you're going. It's just an incredible tool, and makes flying a lot easier, especially if you're flying online with VATSIM controllers. The other thing is you have to remember that, especially the default scenery on the flight sims, be it X-Plane or P3D, are static, and these are tied to real world. So, like P3D scenery, default scenery, maybe a mid 2000s. So there may have been runways added to an airport that show up on the charts, but when you're flying the sim, they don't exist. So if you get to a destination that doesn't, the frequencies don't come in for the ILS or things like that, 9 times out of 10, Calgary for one, that is going to be a problem. One of the suggestions is before you actually fly your flight is move your airplane over to your destination airport just to see if in the top-down view that all the runways are at least there. But that's an important thing to look at.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Moose.
what Tim was talking about, especially when it comes to scenery being static. So this is another thing I was going to get to. This is helpful if you have a chance to pick this up. Airport Design Editor. I don't build airports. I mean, it's just not what I do. I don't have that kind of time. I've gone through and edited Fresno in the past, and then I switched over to P3D, and it all went to moot. But what it is helpful for is if you have default scenery. Obviously, if you have newer current scenery like flight beam stuff that came out recently, it will probably be a very, very, very close representation to what is currently there because it just was done. But P3D is its basis of scenery is based off the FSX library, which is from 2006. You can imagine around the world how much airport construction has gone on in that amount of time. A lot has changed. So this is Heathrow as it stands in the sim by default. This is Heathrow today. There are some differences. This area doesn't exist in the sim, and there's a runway in the sim right here that does no longer exist. It's some taxiways and nothing else. So there are some serious differences. Now I have Heathrow scenery now, so this obviously doesn't matter to me anymore. But to Tim's point, the biggest thing, aside from a missing runway, or an additional runway or something like that, is they do change the ILS frequencies occasionally, and those will be updated with AirRacks. What is cool is there is a program, and I'll talk about this right now because it's a perfect time to. I just have to go remember what it is called. So let me find it here. Let's see. It was Fly something, I thought. FS Aerodata. That's it. FS Aerodata. This is. Oh, be quiet. It's booting out. Yeah. No, not now. Just open the dumb program. Okay, I don't care if you're out of date. I'll fix you later. So this is FSARO data. This is another. You have to pay for this. So this is a. It's not a free tool. But what AirAct data does for the planes, because the AirAct data doesn't update your sim. The AirAct data updates your aircraft's FMS library. So the PMDG 747 has the flight computer, the FMS, the FMC. It updates the data there. So when you're putting in a route and you add the waypoint Landy, wherever that may be, I'm sure it exists somewhere. It doesn't go, oh, I don't have that route because I don't have that point because it didn't exist in 2006 or whenever that plane came out. It knows it exists and it knows where it is based on a GPS location because of the updated aircraft data, the AirAct data. What the AirAct data does not update though is the sim. It doesn't update the frequencies for VORs if they change. It does not update the frequencies for ILSs or the magnetic drift associated with those ILS angles for the runway headings, which happens over time. The AirAct data charts will show that change because they are updated, but your sim is, like Tim said, is static. So this kind of a thing is happening over time with your angles, and it gets more pronounced the further away you get from the pole and certain things like that. So this is really cool. I found this last year. This will go through and update all of the sim data. So it won't change your scenery. So in other words, it won't add or take away runways, but it will make the angles correct and it will update all the ILS nav frequencies. So they will be correct. So if you run this occasionally, there is a good chance, about 95% of the time, that you will be correct without having to do what Tim was saying and going to the airport. What you will still have to do for that, what Tim was talking about, is to figure out the layout of the default scenery airport versus what it looks like on the chart, because that you obviously need to visually see. But the way around that is to use something like this airport design editor, where you can load in the static airport and check. And so what I'll do is I'll load this up and I'll look and just go, okay, what runways are there in the sim versus there and what are missing, so I don't try to, because your AirAct data, your PMDG 747 with the updated AirAct data will see if it's an airport that added a runway. Like a good example of that is Atlanta. Atlanta added a runway, and it doesn't there by default in the sim because it got added after 2006. But in your AirAct data, it'll show up, and so you'll see this. Oh, what's this runway? Runway 9 or whatever the runway is. I'll land on that, and it'll line you up for runway 9 because the FMS is independent of the actual systems in the scenery until you try to use the ILS. The ILS won't tune it because you'll be like, well, there's nothing there. But you'll be coming in and going, why am I landing into the city? Like, what is this? There's suburbia right here. It's because the runway doesn't exist in the sim. So you need to be able to either check with something like this or, like Tim said, go to the airport ahead of time and check. Because that is the problem of updated data and not updated scenery. They're slowly drifting apart ever so more as you go. So if you know there haven't been any major changes to the airport you're flying into since 2006, you're fine. But if you're not sure or you know there has been changes, rest assured the default scenery does not have those changes unless you have outside scenery for it. So some cool options there. V5, I think they're just getting ready for it because they know it's going to come eventually. I don't know when, but I'm sure it'll come eventually.
By the looks of it, I don't think that worked for X-Plane.
The F0 data.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that one is specifically for P3D and FSX. I don't think it's as big a problem in X-Plane as of yet. I mean, X-Plane 11 is not that old. I don't know at what point if they've done a complete revamp of their scenery in 11 versus 10. Because P3D was really kind of a hodgepodge part over from FSX, they didn't. And so that's normally with FSX, even it wasn't that big of a deal because from FS98 to FS 2002 to FS 2004 to FSX, they would be updating that all the time. But that stopped when FSX stopped being updated, and then when P3D took over, they just used FSX's database, so it didn't get updated either. So there's this long history of time now. It's the kind of a new thing with the flight sim community that we have this big gap between reality and the scenery. So that's why this has
Yeah,
become a thing.
a couple big examples other than Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare,
Yes.
where we've got 3 different new runways, and we've lost the VOR. And Grand Rapids VOR used to be called Grand Rapids, but now it's called Victory. So if you are not um, don't have updated charts and the VATSIM controller clears you direct Victory, you're going to be looking for Victory, and it's not going to be anywhere on your old charts. So that's where the Aerodata update comes in really handy.
And you will not have victory at that point, and it'll be bad. No victory for you. Yeah. The other, excuse me. Let me say, I'm gonna take a swig of water here real quick because I've been talking for a while. Ah, that's good. Anyway, another nice add-on, a very helpful add-on, is Project Fly. That's this guy right here. And what the heck just happened? I just wiggled it and everything else went away. Oh, that was kind of cool. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I don't know if that's a Project Fly thing or a Windows thing that clears off your other windows if you jiggle the thing and you jiggle it again, it brings it back. That's kind of interesting. Okay. Um, anyway, so Project Fly is kind of like it's basically an online logbook. But what's kind of cool, it's a community logbook in the sense. So you can, it allows you to create a booking, create a flight, and do the whole thing. But then I can use it on my stream to allow people to see the route, and people can follow me, kind of like watching Flight Radar 24 or Flight Aware. You can see me on a moving map on aside from using something like VATSIM. If I wasn't on VATSIM, I could still be on Project Fly, and you could still track me. Um, but it keeps track of my flights. I can go back and look at my logbook here, and it'll show you all the flights I've done recently. These all say private because Westland isn't registered. I'm working on trying to get that added at the moment. It's not there yet, but there's a community. That's basically the forum. This is the radar, so it'll show up once it
Now,
loads
is
in
Project
here.
Fly free?
Project Fly is free, and all the basically all of the features of Project Fly right now are open under that. Right now, you see this account type blue. There's also a gold and a platinum, I think, are the other ones. And you pay for those. Right now, paying for them doesn't really do anything aside from give money to the creator, which is Matt Davies' company, Metar Simulations. Mainly because this is still technically in a beta form, and so they basically unlocked all the features for everybody. At a certain point, when the version 3 comes out, which I just saw a little video by him, they're working on finalizing the stuff. It'll come out with some more features. When that happens, they will be locking the system, so the free version will still exist, but it will be a little bit more limited in what it can do versus what you can do in the gold and platinum versions. The biggest things for those of you that are looking to stream and use Project Fly, especially for the overlay, that will be only available if you're a paid subscriber. I'm not using the overlay at the moment. I use Fly Live, and I'll show you that, just because I can customize it a little bit more than you can in Project Fly. But a lot of people I know use the overlay. That will not be available unless, of course, you are paying for the subscription that includes the streamer tools. So there will be a point where part of Project Fly is no longer free. Notice it's in sandbox mode here. That's because that's their way of saying beta. Um, there will always be a free version of Project Fly, and it will do the basic things like your logbook and stuff. But certain extra features that you may be enjoying now, if you're using it, may be going away unless you go to the subscribe option. And that was always coming. It was just a matter of once they got the software built up enough to do it. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, these guys have to be able to make a living off of the time they're putting into doing stuff like this. So it is a fantastic piece of software. So when the time comes, we'll see what I decide to do if I decide to pony up the dough. It's not. I mean, you're not talking much. You're talking. I think one of them's like a $2.99 per month, and one's like a $4.99 per month and stuff. But if you got a lot of these, it adds up. And so for some people, that's a deal breaker, and that's fine. So, but it's a cool program. Again, you get a live map. This is showing you VATSIM traffic and Project Fly traffic. I can also bring in here IVAO traffic and Pilot Edge traffic, which will probably blow out the Western. Probably, yeah, boom. All kinds of Pilot Edge stuff. But you can see all the different platforms. But if we this is even just Project Fly. These are just people flying on Project Fly. So they may also be flying on VATSIM or other of the services. But they're at the very least on Project Fly, and so you can see how many people are using the software. It's kind of cool. And again, even when you're flying then offline, in the sense that you're not flying on VATSIM or one of the other uh, VATSIM or Pilot Edge or IVAO, you still have kind of a sense of community and can see, oh, look, there's other people. You're not going to see them in the skies because it's not going to be pushed into your sim, but it's kind of cool for that. So it also has this is kind of a cool little thing. Let me see if I can find it. Where's the, no, that's the logbook. Where is it? Where is it? This has the ability, you can create a fleet so you can kind of see the aircraft you fly with and can manage that. You can also look at airplane schedules. This is another thing that'll be under. You can do like right now. You can do as many schedules as you want and look at schedules, but you'll only be able to look at so many with certain types of accounts. That'll be another one that's going to be going the way of the dodo. There was a thing in here, and I can't find it now. There's a thing called Passport, and it basically shows you all the countries you've been to while using Project Fly. And I thought it was in here. I wonder if it's got turned off temporarily or something, but it was kind of cool. Oh, no, here it is. So on the dashboard, you got your Project Fly passport. So you say 6% right there. So these are all the flights I've done on Project Fly. You notice there's some odd gaps because I forgot to start it and run it when we did the flights. But so some of the Asia tours here, this is our initial, hop over. I think this was the London to Orlando to London one. Our Christmas flight right there. But if you open the passport book, you'll see obviously everything is gray out is stuff the countries I have not been to in the sim. But I've been to Australia, I've been to Azerbaijan. We just keep going down here. We'll see where else I've been to. Guam, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan. So it's just kind of cool. So you can kind of make it a goal. It kind of gives you a mission. You could kind of try and fill out your passport book as you're doing that too, which is kind of cool. So that's Project Fly. That's another really kind of must-have for the flight sim community, I think. It's kind of cool. If you're looking to stream, we're going to sidestep for a second out of the flight sim world and just talk about streaming. If you're looking to stream flight sim or other things, um, Streamlabs, OBS, or OBS in general. OBS is Open Broadcast Studio or software. I can't remember what it's called, what it stands for exactly, but it's free streaming software. That's this guy right here. This is Streamlabs OBS. So it's Streamlabs version of this, which I find runs better than straight OBS in my mind. It integrates easier with Streamlabs. Streamlabs is a website that allows you to do all those little notifications and pop-up alerts for your subscribers and your followers and stuff like that. So this is something you'd want to look into. This is what runs all those different scenes that I put up and all that stuff. So when you see me clicking between different large camera versus, oh, thank you, Kramer. See, there's an example of that, of the bits coming in from Kramer there. That happens via thanks to Streamlabs. But I can make the camera bigger or make it smaller. Those are all presets I have in Streamlabs that are being activated by that Stream Deck by Elgato we talked about earlier. So obviously TeamSpeak or Discord, whatever you want to use for your chat purposes. I prefer TeamSpeak for the chatting side of it only because there's no delay. There is a significant delay with Discord, but it's also free. TeamSpeak is free for all of you guys, and it's free for me to use because we have a TeamSpeak server for Westwind, and Mark has been kind enough to let me use that for our live streaming, primarily because it's bringing a bunch of people into the airline. So there's a little bit of you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But if you have the option, TeamSpeak is a great way to go. Discord's a great freeware option, and it's fantastic as a chat and message board when you're offline, off streaming. It's been really fun actually interacting with a number of you guys just during the week when we're not streaming and talking and cracking jokes and whatever, just keeping people informed about what we're doing. That's actually a lot of fun. It's been kind of a cool, way to keep in touch. But the chat side of it, I find the delay irritating, so I don't use it for the chat, for the voice. And then Fly Live is that component I was talking about. Let me bring that up here. That's this guy here, which it's oh, you know what? It's not going to do anything because I'm not. Okay, I'm going to open this over here just so just so it'll open up. You can see it. It's not going to open until P3D is online, so P3D is going to boot over here off to the side where you won't see it, but it'll come up in a moment. But FlyLive, what it does, it allows you to track different variables in your flight, like the altitude, the heading, the time and route, all that stuff, distance to destination. And that gives you, I've got that little kind of, I call it an MCP down at the bottom because I've made it kind of designed to look like the mode control panel on a 757 or 747 where you put in the altitude and the heading and the speed. But that gives updates in real time to you guys so you can see where I'm at and whatever. Is that going to be? There we go. That did it. So yeah, so now it comes up with all this stuff, and I can set up a flight, and I can come over here and give it the departure, the arrival, my call sign, my estimated cruise. You hit apply, and then say okay once this gets populated, and then it will fill in all those boxes down there that you see, and it will connect with the stream. So this is free, by the way. FlyLive is free. So if you're wanting to do this, allows you to do a lot more customizations with how the text looks, where it is, where it's placed. Project Fly again gives you, it's a lot more turnkey, but it doesn't give you a lot of options. So I like the options better because I built my own custom thing, and so I want to do that way. So I'm gonna close P3D now because I don't need to be. And actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna close P3D because we may pop over to it for a second to do settings. So yeah, so that's that. So I'm trying to think here. Where's my? I have a little checklist here. I'm gonna look through it and just see. Oh yeah, last year checklist, and just see if I have anything particular that I'm missing from what I use. Flight plan. Nightbot's another one. That's a nice moderator of your streamer. Again, free. It's nightbot.tv, I think is the URL, and he'll moderate. He'll keep people from using curse words in the chat. Twitch will do that to a certain extent too. He can do a little bit more stuff, but he'll smack people down for using excessive caps and trying to post links in the chat because you never know, people are going to post nefarious things, and you don't want
Hey,
people
Moose.
posting things to porn sites stuff. Yeah.
Fuel planning. What are you using for fuel planning?
So right now I am using SimBrief for my fuel planning.
Okay.
I haven't had enough issues where it's been too far off yet, and so usually what I'll do is if I discover it is, then that's when I go into the fuel factor and change that to get it closer. But do you have something you use outside from that you want to
Yeah,
recommend?
I'd use. Oh, hang on, stand by. I think it's fuelplanner.com.
That's what I use.
Fuelplanner.com. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so here's another one. If you guys are looking for just to do some fuel planning and you want to try that, this is a recommendation by Captain Tim, and apparently Kramer uses it as well. And what's some interesting things I'm seeing here now too. There's some that are set up like you got the 727 100 200 and the 727 FlyJSim 200F, so it's geared specifically for that particular model that was done by FlyJSim. The Zebo mod for the 737 right there, the 747 by PMDG. So you can get some really. So in fact, what you could even do is you could use this and SimBrief and kind of compare and see how far they are off from each other and try and tune SimBrief to even get a lot closer if you find this ends up being more accurate.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I do,
yeah.
which is why I end up on
Yep.
fuel planning one.
Gotcha.
And it's real easy to use. You just put your originating station, your destination station, and if you hit planner, it'll just give you a quick and dirty overview of your fuel use.
No,
And if you use the load sheet, it'll do the full Monty for weight and balance and stuff. That's kind of random.
Gotcha. I see. Oh yeah, it'll give you some stuff there. So yeah, so a little kind of a quick and dirty version, but it could give you some really good fuel numbers that way too. So fuelplanner.com if you guys need a good fuel planner site. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
Obviously, for additions to the actual sim itself, when it comes to like add-ons and things like that, some key ones are Active Sky for weather injection. Nothing says awkward like flying the same route with someone, and they say they're going Mach 0.82 and you're going Mach 0.83 and they're passing you at speed because they have monster tailwind and you have a monster headwind for some reason.
Me.
because
David.
because your weather or Mayo until recently he finally got active sky. Um, so it helps to have real world weather and know that everyone you're flying with is using real world weather, so that way you're all in the same kind of world that way. So
And
active
that's
sky
payware.
that is payware, yes. Active sky is payware. It's by a hi-fi simulations, I believe. Let me pull it up here real quick. So if you guys are
High
curious,
five tech or high five sim?
I think it's sim, but oh no, it's tech.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is tech. I just do it this way and then active sky and then I'll do yeah hi-fi simulation technology. So we're both right.
There you go.
So they do have it for X-Plane now, by the way. In fact, I just bought it for X-Plane the other day because I wanted to make sure I had real
Yeah,
weather
works well.
injection. And then they also have it for P3D version 4 and Active Sky 16 for FSX. So if you're using the older FSXs or FSX Steam, there you go. But
I need to get active sky.
yeah. So anyway, so really great for accurate live weather injection or historical weather if you want to do. If you want to do, hey, I knew there was a really cool weather pattern that I missed, and I want to try and fly through it. So you can set it to that day and that time, and it'll pull that up. By the way, did I
And
tell you how I improved my landings? No, you did
and
not.
Rex is also
Yes. So
a weather
Rex
one too.
Rex has their weather
Indeed.
engine. It's a competitor of Active Sky. That's Real Environment Extreme. I'll pull that up too because I actually used some stuff by them. I don't use them for the weather engine.
Yeah, me neither.
And from what I hear from most people, um, let me see if I just got. Of course, it's gonna Rex that way. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, hang on. There we go. Yeah, rexsimulations.com. So they have their own weather engine. Most people will tell you their weather engine isn't quite up to par as far as comparison to Active Sky, but what Rex does really well is visuals. And so a lot of people will use, like I use their Skyforce 3D program for the cloud modeling and a lot of some of the other sky and environment textures. Gorgeous. Highly recommend. I just don't use the weather program comes with all that. I just don't use the weather program. I just use the textures, and I use Active Sky for the weather. So I use a hodgepodge of the two. But yeah, can't sing praises enough about Rex's texture stuff. They are fantastic. So Real Environment Extreme, check them out if you're curious about doing that. Um, let's see, looking at my list here. GSX, if you're looking for immersion stuff for the sim itself, what it does, I'll pull up their site here. That's an FS Dream Team project. Dreamteam.com. That's over here, and there it is, GSX level 2. This is what puts in the various either jetways. The cool thing about level 2 now, it will put in what are called SODE jetways, SODE, and someone told me what it stands for the other day. Someone on here may know what the acronym stands for. I can never remember it. But it's basically
Sim object something.
yeah, sim objects detail. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's the really nice looking jetways that are very responsive and very accurate, as opposed to the default ones that were stock in FSX and P3D. If you don't have payware scenery, it will automatically replace all of those jetways with SOD jetways. So that's one benefit. Awesome. It will not replace payware scenery jetways. So if you have older payware scenery that has lame jetways, that you're stuck with those. But most new payware scenery has SOD jetways or something fairly equivalent and much better than the sim had. It will also add in now level 2 adds in the people moving. So before you had all the ground service vehicles and it would load cargo into your aircraft and it would put up the stairs or put the jetway up and you would hear them walking in, the sound effects if you're in the cockpit of people coming in and leaving the plane when that's going on. Now you actually have people moving. You'll see them in the jetways and you'll see them outside. Looks really cool. They'll come and show up in the bus and they'll flood out the plane and go up the stairs and go on the plane. It just adds level of immersion. It's not necessary. It's just cool.
Real quick hint on that is what's the setting? Not instantaneous. It's
insanity.
insane. Yes,
Yeah.
you want to move that up to insane to get the clumps of people.
Yeah.
That
Otherwise,
look much more realistic.
yeah. Otherwise, they come out in like very sporadic. They're very spread out. And it looks like 10 people are getting on your 747. It's not very realistic. You do insane, and this flood of people comes out and goes up the stairs off one bus, and the next bus comes, and it happens again. It's super cool. The other thing that GSX is really good for is your pushback. So X-Plane has the better pushback tool, which is cool for being able to kind of customize where you push back to. GSX is a little more realistic in the sense that you don't have to go out and map it out for them, which that's kind of annoying that you have to do that, but I understand why you have to do that. But it will integrate with and it doesn't always get it 100% right. Sometimes, depending on how the scenery is designed, it comes up short. But it will look at where you're parked and how you're supposed to get out to the various taxiways, and you tell it, yeah, I want my nose to point left or point right or whatever it is, and it will push you back and follow along. And sometimes it pushes you back way too far, like Juan did with us in LAX and pushed us
Yeah.
tail into the runway, which was hilariously funny, but not desired. So it provides that service too. So you get service vehicles, you get catering vehicles, you get fuel vehicles, you get the people, the loading stuff. All that is GSX, Ground Service Extreme or Ground Service Environment or something, whatever it stands for.
And you can customize all these vehicles. Actually, you can do the liveries on the vehicles, which we haven't done yet.
Right.
But you can also set up your parking specific, either airport specific or gate specific, for the marshaller or the electronic guiding gates, and also positioning your ground service equipment.
That's correct.
Which is really nice.
Right. It's also super helpful if you're trying to bring a jumbo into an airport that has no default parking for a jumbo, because you can edit a small gate or a small parking ramp and change it to accept the jumbo, and then move the various vehicles out far enough so you're not running over them as you park. So you have some options there, because some airports, like Fresno, there is one heavy gate at Fresno in the sim, but there's no like heavy cargo area, even though there actually is a significant cargo area that's built because it got built after the sim. But you could edit that in there and make it fit now, and not just have to be like, well, I want to have ground services because there's no technical spot at this airport. You can kind of add it in. So it gives you a lot of customization, a lot of features in the background if you want to mess with them. You can change the paint schemes on the various vehicles. They come with a bunch of liveries for stock airlines like Delta and American and United and all kinds of world airlines, and then some stock ones like Swissport and Menzies and some other ones.
Yeah, Donata.
Yeah. So you got those, or you could go in. We haven't done it yet, but you could go in and create them for like West Wind and stuff like that, or change the bus to be a Jaguar's livery for when we do our Jaguar flights, which I want to do for next year. So, but anyway, so you got a lot of customization that you can do to have fun with that too. So it's a really cool program. The level 2 really did take it to the next level. Some people just get annoyed by GSX because it does have its little quirks every once in a while, and some things don't work perfectly. But you know what? It's a sim. I mean, everything has that to some extent. There's going to be scenery that fades out every once in a while, whatever. But for what you pay for, in my mind, well worth it. So, let's see here. For those of you that are partially annoyed by running your sim or having to run your sim in windowed mode and get that stupid bar up here at the top that in your sim that just kind of breaks the level of the screen, you can run it in full screen, but certain programs don't run as well in full screen, and sometimes depending on your system, it may reduce your frames to run full screen mode. Or if you are like me and you have a second monitor and you want to see stuff over here, running in full screen mode will black that out. That's a deal breaker for me. There is a free app. I'm sure there's a number of them out there, but the one I use is called Borderless Gaming. And I'm going to open it now. And once I click, start, basically, this just goes away and runs in the background. But it's called Borderless Gaming. Just do a Google search for it. You can set what things you want to be automatically borderless, and it will just resize the frame and remove that top thing. So it's like you're running in full screen mode without having to run in full screen mode. So I run this every time we fly, so we don't have that annoyance of that, because that drives me nuts. And it's fine when I'm looking at a window, but when I'm looking at the game, I want it to be, or sorry, the sim, I want it to be full screen and whatever. So I'm going to exit that because I don't need it running at the moment.
Yeah, let me jump in here. There is another one for the sim. Is was it Dawson's FUSPIC, whatever that is?
FSUIPC.
That's it. Yeah, make sure you tell the folks about that one.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that is a good one. FSUIPC. Excuse me, sorry. FSUIPC. In fact, I think in order to view it, I'm going to need to get the sim all the way opened up here. So let me do that real quick. Stand by. I'm just going to go somewhere.
What it is? Well, while you're playing, I'll
Yeah, sure.
voice over.
Go ahead.
Is an interface between a lot of the add-ons and the actual sim, and you'll see a few of the add-ons actually say it requires FSUIPC, whatever it is, to this or that level.
That is correct. And FSUIPC, the base that when it says you need it to run certain things, the base program of FSUIPC is free. There's a paid version that allows you to do some other things. I actually have the paid version for doing some other custom configuration stuff, and it's not very expensive. And it's a one-time. It's not like a subscription. But it's basically it is. Yeah, Tim's right. It's an interfacing tool that allows you to have a lot more customization over things than the sim will give you by default, and also allows a lot of things to work in the background with each other that the sim doesn't provide by default. So Sim Connect is kind of the big thing the sim designed to be able to use a lot of things. FSUIPC is kind of a third-party version of that, and it's a lot more stable in a lot of ways, and so that's why a lot of third-party developers rely on that as opposed to the Sim Connect module that comes with the sim. So I'll show you here in a second the thing's loading up here. I'll switch over to I'll take off the secondary monitor, and we'll take off the background. And you'll see this, and it's going to look weird because I'm not running Chase Plan. I'm going to tell you about that in a moment too. FSUIPC right there, and you can see that good. Yeah. So you'll see. Thank you. And so this is a registered copy. Thank you, because that's me. That's registered to me. But you can go in here. You can the things I use it primarily for. You can set up your axes and do your calibration and axis assignment through FSUIPC instead of the sim, which is what I do. Some people don't do this because they think it's awful, and some people swear by it, like I do. But it gives me a little bit more control over how I do my axes for different throttles and stuff like that. Joystick calibration, again, you can do a little fine calibrations, especially when it comes to setting reverse zones on your throttles and stuff like that. This can be super helpful. What's really cool, though, is you also have this buttons and switches. So I can set all the buttons and switches really easily here um, on my yokes and various things there. And then also I can do key mappings. Where is it? Is that hotkeys? No. What is it? The other key presses. So I could set a key press to do something in the sim that you kind of find some ways around so you can better organize how you have your keyboard things or stuff set up. So this is invaluable for me, so that's why I have the registered copy. You can also use this to do auto saves for your sim. I don't use this personally. I know a lot of people that do, and they'll sometimes have issues with it doing whatever. But so if you wanted it to auto save your sim every so many seconds, if your sim crashed, you could go back and pull up the auto save and just pick up where you left off with some hopefully some not too much interruption. I don't think I've ever tried it through this, but in doing save flights and stuff, I always had kind of mixed results, especially with some of the more complex add-on aircraft like PMDG, because there's so much other stuff running in the background on those aircraft. It's not as simple as a snapshot of where you are in the world. So that's one of the reasons I really don't use this, because I figure if it's going to go down, it's going to go down. We're just going to deal with that. I try my best to beef up the sim and the computer to have as few errors as possible. I don't want to have to rely on an autosave, because if it's crashing all the time anyway, we have a problem we have to fix. I'm not going to fly with that kind of nonsense going on. So anyway, so super helpful program. Again, this is found, you may kind of go, am I in the right place? Am I getting this in the right place? Let me pull up where you get this at. This is this UIPC.
Pete Dawson.
Yeah, it's Pete Dawson, the official Peter Dawson page. So it looks like this. and I think you'll see that now. So this is it's Shirati.com. It's the Peter Dawson thing, and 5.5 is for P3D version 4. FSU IPC 4 is for P3D's version 1.4 to 3.4, and then there's WideFS, which I don't use WideFS. That's a I forget what that allows you to do, but I don't use it, so I can't speak to it. But these will work for FSX, FSSteam, and P3D. 5.5 specifically for P3D v4. The other one for the other versions of P3D and FSX and FS Steam Edition. There is also, I feel like I've seen a version of this or some kind of limited version of this for X-Plane. Am I
Yes,
correct?
XUIPC.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing it on this site. I'm wondering if it's
No, it's totally different.
it's totally different.
developer.
Okay, so it's a different developer, yeah. But so it accomplishes a similar thing though. So I don't have that one as of yet. I may mess with it, but I haven't done it yet, so I can't speak to that. So that's that. We'll hit cancel on that, and that brings me to Chase Plane. So let me turn off the second monitor now, so you're back to that. And all right, see you, David.
I have
Yeah,
not
I've
used
got
the
a pushback
autosave
too there.
since I switched over to P3.
Gotcha. What were you saying, Tim?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut off a year or two and get some sleep. It's been a long day.
Oh, that's fine.
So so far doing an excellent job, and I'll catch up on the YouTube.
All right, sounds good.
No, not a problem, Sean.
Chase Plane. All right, so Chase Plane will now fix this view so it looks more normal of what you're used to seeing me fly once it boots up. Of course, it's going to download this experimental update first.
Moose, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you load into X-Plane and try and land the 747 on the aircraft carrier?
Well, not right now.
Oh boy.
Okay, so this is so you notice the view switched over here. Let me show you. This is Chase Plane. Chase Plane is a camera program for P3D, and I don't remember if it works. Does it work for FSX as well, or is it just P3D? Does anyone know? All right, see you, Kels. Anyway, so there it goes again. So this is a Windows thing. That explains that right there. Give me that. That's kind of fun to do. But anyway, this is a camera program that will allow you to set up different views. So you can have them preset and then set up key bindings to select them. So I don't have to click on it. I can just click on the key bindings that I have set up and it will go, whoa. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that is all blown out funny. I'll have to check into that. Something weird's going on there. But anyway, but you can do that. You can also do external views, various things like that. And they're all customizable. And then there's also a community, so you can go and find other people that have views set up that they've shared for that aircraft. And also, it's a really nice, smooth, some cool options camera view program. Highly recommend Chase Plane. The competitor to this, EasyDock, has been the one that's been out for a long time. It's what I used for years because there was nothing else. And now Chase Plane came along and forced EasyDock to actually update their software. So they're both pretty competitive with each other now. Stop that. I switched over to Chase Plane, and I don't even know what EasyDock's features are at the moment, so I couldn't speak into that. But both I hear are good programs, so I have nothing bad to say necessarily about EasyDock. But I use Chase Plane, and I love it. So yeah. GSX, Chase Plane, that's pretty much the way of it. So we talked about wanting to know what I set up on my buttons to do. So we'll do that, and that'll be kind of the last thing. If there are no more specific questions after that, we'll call it a night because it is getting kind of long. We're getting to 8 o'clock over here, and I need to do other things anyway. So come over here. There we go. Okay. So looking at, let me go back into big view here so you guys can see better. So looking at my my yoke, so we already talked about this is my push to talk right here, and this is my TeamSpeak Silencio, silent. Back here on the back side is my autopilot disconnect, and then on this side, same thing, is my auto throttle disconnect. Hat switch, which is does my views, scans that around. What do you know? What do you say? This actually is a rudder trim, which I have never had to use. Well, no, I have had to use it once, but not on stream. And then this is an elevator trim over here, which I use all the time. Down here, I've got two toggle buttons. They'll go both ways. The down one on this side is the parking brake, and I think up doesn't do anything at the moment. I don't think I have that mapped to anything. This side is spoiler control, so pushing down will activate the spoiler, pushing up will arm the spoiler. So this is like a spoiler toggle, so I push it down, it'll toggle the spoiler, and then toggle it again, we'll put it back. And then pushing up will arm it for landing for the auto spoiler. These I don't use for anything, they're just there. Coming over here onto my throttle quadrant, obviously the throttles, the first four are pretty obvious. They are the throttles. And like I said before, there is a detent there that I use for reverse. So that brings it to idle and then reverse mode. And so when I land, once I hit and wheels on the ground, then I'll just pull these back and it'll put all the engines into reverse. They are all individually accessed. So putting just that one down will only activate the reverser on engine 2 versus all of them in a 4-engine plane, or 2 of them if I'm flying a 737 like this. Right here, these buttons are all just like these. They go both ways, up and down. So the first one is gear. So up, gear up, down, gear down. The second one is flaps. Up for flaps up, down for flaps down, and that's incremental. So I'll hit it every time I need to go to a different notch of flaps. This one here on P3D, by pushing down is the toga button for me. So I'll stand the throttles up to around 50-60% N1. Once they're stable, I'll come down here and hit toga, and the throttles will begin to advance in the sim, and I will follow them up the rest of the way this way. So my throttles will then be at full throttle going down the runway, even though they won't be full throttle in the sim. And then if I have to abort, they are set. So if I pull them back suddenly, it will activate them pulling back. It'll disconnect the auto throttle. It'll engage the RTO brake and the automatic brake, the reject takeoff brake, and throw the spoilers out as part of the takeoff roll. These guys right now are set to do absolutely nothing. I don't have any buttons set up for these. And this one is landing lights. So if I click this, it's a toggle, so it'll click the landing lights on or off. This one in X-plane, if I push it up, it's toga. If I push it down in X-plane, it is activates my reverse axis for my thrust reversers, because they have to act differently than they do here. So I actually hit that reverse thrust axis, and then I just push the throttles back up, and they actually thrust up in reverse as opposed to in the main. There are no special buttons down there on the rudder pedals, because it's just the rudders. That's obviously rudder action. And then toe brakes. So if you push on the top of them, they activates the toe brakes.
Miss,
Yes.
when you use X-plane, I have it to where when I push down on the throttles past the detent, it engages reversers. Like I don't need to throttle up to.
Yeah, I could not get it to work on mine for that. Now you're using Cytec, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And the CH, for whatever reason, it sees it different. And I tried a number of different ways, and that was the only way I could finally get it to work consistently correctly.
I
would.
believe there's a
So.
sorry for interrupting,
No, go ahead.
but I believe there's a toggle on each of the axes that says check it if it's a CH products yoke.
Yes, and actually turning that on made it worse for me. I don't know why.
Did?
Yeah, I believe that's what happened. I remember one of the things I discovered that at one point and tried it, and it actually either was already worse and it got a little better, but still not right, or it got worse. It was one of the two. And so I ended up finding I was doing all kinds of research, going, how do you make this work? What the heck? Why is this so difficult? And finally, I saw someone. I finally understood what the toggle reverse was too. In that it was basically telling the throttles to toggle into reverse mode, so then you use the throttle to, because in the real aircraft you don't have a like the disadvantage of having it set up how they do for P3D is I don't have any kind of reverse thrust control. I have idle and I have full reverse. That's it. In the real aircraft, you have what's called idle reverse, which is where you pull the reversers up into idle reverse, and it opens the reverse doors. It closes the flaps inside to push the fan thrust forward, but it doesn't spool the engine up. It just is at idle, and so it's actually pushing air, but not enough to really do much. That's called idle reverse. Then, as they continue to pull that reverse lever up, it spools the engine up just like you're thrusting for takeoff, but because those doors are shut, all that thrust is going forward. So you're basically it's the same as pushing the throttles up, but you're pushing them up in reverse essentially. You're not I mean the fan hasn't turned direction or anything, but it's blocking the airflow so it has to go forward instead of out the back straight.
I'm guilty with the Mad Dog to using that as my pushback.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, so in some sense, the X-plane thing allows it to be a little bit more realistic. The only downside is I have to remember, because I'm so used to, after flying P3D for so many years, just pulling the throttles all the way back, that it doesn't do anything anymore. And so I have to go, oh yeah, I got to hit this button, and then I got to slowly power up, and then pull it back to idle, and then reverse throttle them, and then whatever. So it's cool because it's kind of more realistic in some ways, but at the same time it's annoying because I have to learn a whole new thing. And now if I'm going back and forth in the Sims, I'm gonna constantly get thrown off by that and be like, oh, that doesn't do it, and so I'm gonna end up going off the wrong way like Tim did in Narita. So that's gonna be fun. So anyway, so that's basically how I have my flight set up. I got those two speakers, these Bose speakers, which that's the one thing I do enjoy about flying offline is I get to use those, and they sound so cool when I'm doing the stuff. But I can't use them when I'm streaming because of the microphone and all that stuff. It would just be too much background noise, so I have to use these. These do a really good job, but there's nothing like kind of feeling like you're surrounded in the stuff without it. But even flying flying online but not streaming, I still have to do it through here because then I need to be able to talk to VATSIM, and so it's just one of those things. So you get used to it. I fought it for a number of years. I would do this where I had one thing off and I had the speakers going, and doing it that way. But then again, people would complain because there was too much noise there, and I finally just had to say, screw it. I'll just put it all and seal myself up and do it. So you do what you got to do eventually.
So you do what I do, basically have most of the sounds, just the aircraft sounds, because of the computer, and have all the voice in your head.
No, everything comes through my head.
Oh,
Everything.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, everything. Because I wouldn't be able to hear it out here. These things suction off all the sound. I couldn't hear it. So basically, the way I have the stream set up is all the sound comes into the headset, and that headset pickup is what then goes to the stream. So whatever goes into the headset goes to you guys, and then the microphone is a separate input into the stream. So then it also goes. So it's not. So I'm not hearing myself in the thing, which is it is helpful in some ways. It's straining on my voice because I end up speaking a lot louder than I would naturally because I've got these big old muffs on my ears. But it helps you guys because it ends up it forces me to talk a lot louder than I probably would naturally, and you guys can hear it better. The downside is I don't hear myself very well, so I'm straining my voice. But if I did it through the system to where my voice came through the headset, there's a microsecond delay, and your brain will actually try to match that. And so you constantly slow yourself down. I've tested it and I've tried it, and I try to ignore it, and it's super hard to ignore. If it was through a soundboard where it was instantaneous and it because there's a processing delay, that's the issue. It has to process the sound first. A soundboard, you wouldn't have to do that. And so the guys that do it where they have their voice going through are using a sound console or some kind of mixer, and so it can be instantaneous. So they don't have that problem. Until I get a soundboard someday that I can run all that stuff through and pipe it through that way and mix all the sound that way, I just can't do that. Otherwise, it's just going to be bad. Hey Chris, how you doing? Great stream, very well presented. Thank you. Driving home, couldn't type. Appreciate you. No problem. Did you were you around for your question getting answered? I answered at the kind of near the top of the stream, but I wasn't sure if you were listening yet because you said you couldn't type. So hopefully I'll be happy to go back and answer your question again if you missed that. But I would just need to know. So yeah, that's how I have my stream set up, my desk set up. I've got my tablet obviously for doing stuff offline. The sim is the sim. I could go through settings, but maybe we could do that another time if anybody wants to know what I have my settings set to. But those are so specific to anyone's individual computer and how powerful it is based on what you can do settings wise. So I don't know that's extremely helpful. Some people appreciate that and some people like to know, but we can do that anytime really if you want to go through and see my settings. So you got it? All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you gonna ignore the meme that I sent you?
The meme.
Oh God.
What even is that? I don't even know.
It's a meme.
When did you send it? Like, oh, is that in photo gallery?
No, it's on Instagram.
Oh, Instagram. Yeah, I'm not checking my phone right now because of the streaming. Let me see.
Apparently, San Diego is a huge Southwest airport.
Well, that would make sense. They're like the ultimate Southwest of America.
Because I got
Like,
GSX and it just loaded in all the jetways, and everything is saying Southwest on it for the most part.
yeah, they do have a very big presence.
But it won't let me use controls. It goes to on the demo airports. Like, really?
No. Is this the Orbex San Diego?
No, it's still GSX. It's
Oh,
still
I see.
default San Diego GSX levels 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
Which I just got, which I'm trying to figure out how to set the dang thing up.
Everyone else on the plane, flight level 360.
Which I actually kind of need your help with because I have no idea how to set this thing up.
Is that the plain old memes that you sent me? This little cat mouse thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. What's May May about it? I'm not following that.
It's meme.
Oh.
It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone else on the plane at flight level 360. Oh, because you're shutting the engines down at 360. So that's funny. Nice. What were you saying you were going to need help with, Crypto?
Setting up GSX.
Oh, GSX. Well, that's really not hard, but yeah, we can go over that sometime. Obviously not.
Yay.
Yeah, let's borrow a souped up soundboard from a church. Yeah. Problem is, everything from my church would be massive. Like, I don't need, one, I don't need anything that big, but two, I don't have any place to put anything that big. There actually is an Allen and Heath board that we're not using currently that I probably could snag and use, but it is 32 channels. It is bigger than this desk. So, while I could use it for the like 4 channels I would need, it would not fit and it would not be appropriate. And eventually I'd have to give it back anyway because we'll use it somewhere at some point. But yeah. So no, what I really need is one of those little like personal mixing boards. It's like 4 or 6 channels, and ideally that has the USB connection input, so I can do that. Because that's part of what I'd really like to do at some point is get a streaming PC. I've actually got another computer down here that's my old tower, that's missing the hard drives and the graphics card because those came over. But it's got everything else in it. But I'd love to kind of soup that back up and get it running again and use that as the PC I stream to. But to do that, it requires a kind of a jump in channel hardware. So I would need the Elgato stream capture card or the capture device, which is like $200-300, and then I also need the soundboard at that point because you'd have to, because now you're splitting stuff around and have to move it. You need a number of direct box stuff to be able to link it through this. There's just a number of you suddenly can't just go, I'm going to do this and then add this other stuff later. It all has to come at once, and so I kind of have to really decide that's what I want to do and it will work before I do it. And part of it is also power. I need to make sure the breakers are on this room aren't tied to another room that's also using too much power that would then trip the breaker because I'm using 2 computers and the soundboard and the things, because that would be bad. So a lot of things to take into consideration there, and then it's a healthy investment because I need a new graphics card then for the old computer. Need to hard drives for that. Have to do some soup up stuff with that. Need the Elgato card. Need the soundboard. So it's a it's a hefty investment, and part of me just goes, why don't we just soup up even more this computer and do that? Get a nice 1080 Ti or something, and then whatever. But I don't know. We'll see someday.
Why don't you get an RTX Titan?
Or that, I don't know. Whatever the big awesome card of the time is. It's always changing and getting better. So, I mean, the 970 is pulling its weight for the time being. We've for what this is I mean, when I'm streaming, there's a lot of software running. I mean, not only the actual game, the sim rather, but the between TeamSpeak and Project Fly and Fly Live and the weather engine and Chase Plane, all those things running, and then add on top of that, my graphics card has to render out and encode the stream to push that up the network and do that all in real time and live. It's actually fairly impressive that the sim runs as well as it does. when I do end up into some choppy scenarios, it's kind of like, you know what? I don't mind that much because normally it's amazing it's running as well as it is. So the RTX Titan is $2,500 and it's 24K. Oh, good grief! Yeah, $2,500. That's a good chunk of money. I think that money is better spent toward my PPL at the moment that I'm trying to see about getting back into. So,
All
uh,
right, Miss. Sorry, I'm about to head out.
all
I
right.
guess we can do the landing 747 on the aircraft
Yeah, we'll do
carrier a different day.
yes, we will have to do a different day. I think that's a good place to end the stream anyway. So unless anyone has any other questions, I don't think I see any more on Discord, and I haven't seen any come up in a little while on chat. So if there are no more questions, then I think we will call that the end of our first ever Q&A stream. We'll definitely have to do it again. I don't know how often we'll necessarily do this because you don't really have to do it all that often necessarily, I don't think. But thank you guys for coming in and hanging with me and asking your questions. It's been a pleasure to kind of show you how I do what I do. It was something I just decided to start doing basically 2 years ago now. 2 years ago May, and it's kind of turned into a kind of official part of my life. It's been fun, and the hardware and software has grown. I want to add a green screen at some point behind me. I want to do some better lighting at some point. I mean, it's all moolah, so it just adds up to that. But it's cool. The channel is making money. I mean, not that that's why I started doing it, but it's that money all goes back into the live stream experience as well as the sim and for add-ons. And so I stopped making a ton of money, but it's better more money than I had without doing it, I guess. So it's kind of cool that you can come up and do a hobby like this and interact with a bunch of people and actually make some profit off it as well. But I mean, ultimately the biggest benefit for me from doing this is being able to meet a ton of people that I would not have met otherwise, hang out with some awesome people, get to know some people, have some experiences I wouldn't have had otherwise, and that's why I do this. So I'm happy to create content for you guys. I'm glad you guys like it, and as long as you guys are around, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. So. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful evening. I will see you guys tomorrow for Friday Night Ops. I'll tweet out information on the various platforms as well as in, Discord. Once I know more, I'll try to reach out to Southwest 8080 and see what he's thinking. If we can get a hold of him and see what we're doing. But Friday Night Ops is Chicago tomorrow, and that's what we'll be heading to. So, all right, guys. It's been fun chatting. You have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will
See you
see you
tomorrow.
all tomorrow.